Right, chat. That's right. Coming back at you. Hello? What? Audio check. Audio check. Not good. Not good. Not my day, chat. Hello, chat. Hello, chat. Never give up, chat. Never give up. Never give up. Never give up. Not good, dude.
Welcome to Democracy Now! DemocracyNow.org,
Okay.
The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The U.S.-Israeli war in Iran enters its 26th day. As the Pentagon reports, as many as 3,000 U.S. paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne Division are expected to be deployed, in addition to the 50,000 troops already present in the Middle East. President Trump Tuesday claimed negotiations to end the war are happening right now and that Iran agreed to never have a nuclear weapon. He also touted a significant present from Iran without specifying.
They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. It was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize. And they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it.
Iran flat out denied it's negotiating with the United States. That's despite reports President Trump is seeking a month-long ceasefire to discuss his 15-point plan to end the war. Pakistani officials confirmed this morning Iran had received Trump's 15-point ceasefire proposal. This is Ibrahim Zulfikari, the spokesperson for Iran's Joint Military Command.
Has the level of your internal discord reached the point where you are negotiating with yourselves? There will be neither any sign of your investments in the region, nor will you see previous energy and oil prices until you understand this. Stability in the region is guaranteed by the powerful hand of our armed forces.
This comes as Mohammad Bagher Zolqadr was appointed as Iran's new security chief, replacing Ali Larijani, who Israel killed in an attack last week. Meanwhile, Israel and Iran continue to exchange airstrikes as the Israeli military says it needs several more weeks of fighting to complete its war goals in Iran. Two Israeli military officials told NPR Tuesday. The International Atomic Energy Agency says it's been informed by Iran that a projectile struck the premises of the Bushehr nuclear power plant. Iran's armed forces say they've carried out drone attacks targeting a facility of Israel's Rafael weapons firm in Haifa. Iran continues to launch retaliatory strikes against Gulf nations hosting U.S. military bases. Arabia intercepted missiles and drones today. Drones targeted a fuel tank at Kuwait International Airport, causing a fire. Meanwhile, the New York Times reports Saudi Arabia's de facto leader, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, has been pushing President Trump to continue the war. The Wall Street Journal reports both the UAE and Saudi Arabia are getting closer to a decision to join U.S. attacks on Iran. Philippines has declared a national energy emergency in response to the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran. It comes as transport workers, commuters, and consumer groups in the Philippines plan to hold a two-day strike starting tomorrow to protest the increase in fuel prices. Philippines imports 90% of its oil from the Middle East. Meanwhile, South Korea launched a campaign to save energy nationwide Tuesday, urging people to take shorter showers, ride bicycles for short trips, avoid charging phones and electric vehicles at night, and to use washing machines and vacuums only on weekends. South Korea imports around 70% of its crude oil through the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran has effectively blocked in response to the U.S.-Israeli bombardment. Lebanon expelled Iran's newly appointed ambassador to Lebanon Tuesday. Hezbollah, which receives funding from Iran, called it a, quote, grave national and strategic mistake, unquote. This comes as Israel says it plans to seize parts of southern Lebanon to create what it called a defensive buffer against Hezbollah. The Israeli military continues to bomb bridges and demolish homes in southern Lebanon. Lebanese authorities say Israeli attacks have killed more than 1,000 people since March 2nd, and more than 1 million people have been forced to flee their homes. On Tuesday, the United Nations condemned Israel's war on Lebanon.
Yes, we worry about the increased rhetoric that we're seeing. We worry about the continuing military activity that we're seeing.
by the partial government shutdown. TSA workers have gone without pay for more than a month as Congress continues to debate a funding deal for the Department of Homeland Security. At least 450 TSA officers have quit their jobs since the partial shutdown began on February 14th. CNN's reporting pilots repeatedly pleaded with NASA's aviation safety reporting system to address safety concerns at New York's LaGuardia Airport for months before a deadly airplane crash Sunday left 2 people dead. Last summer, a pilot wrote to the agency to, quote, please do something after air traffic controllers at LaGuardia reportedly failed to disclose that other airplanes were nearby. Similar reports issued just months apart also described how LaGuardia air traffic controllers issued inaccurate instructions that led to near collisions, with some complaints warning the issues at LaGuardia were similar to what could have caused the January 2025 mid-air collision near Ronald Reagan National Airport that killed 67 people. The head of the National Transportation Safety Board, the NTSB, said Monday long lines at LaGuardia Airport security checkpoints due to TSA shortages had delayed investigators from arriving at the scene of the deadly collision on Sunday when an Air Canada Express plane collided with a fire truck. The NTSB also said the fire truck did not have a transponder, which was needed to trigger the warning system before the deadly crash. Both pilots on the flight died. A jury in New Mexico Tuesday ordered Meta to pay $375 million in civil penalties for knowingly harming children and concealing child sexual exploitation on its platforms. The verdict followed a 7-week trial stemming from a 2023 lawsuit brought by New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres, who accused Meta of violating state consumer protection laws and misleading the public about risks to the mental health of teen users. The $375 million penalty is less than a fifth of what prosecutors were seeking. Meta says it'll appeal the decision. It's the first time the company has been held accountable in a jury trial over harm to children on its platforms. A group of 8 architecture and cultural organizations have sued President Trump and his hand-picked board of trustees at the Kennedy Center over planned renovations at the center set to begin in just a few months. The groups want to ensure the White House and Trump's Kennedy Center board comply with existing historic preservation laws and secure approval from Congress before starting the renovations. The lawsuit says Trump's so-called renovations wish, quote, to fundamentally alter this iconic property without complying with bedrock federal historic preservation and environmental laws and without securing the necessary congressional authorization, unquote. Last month, the Kennedy Center's board voted to close the venue for 2 years for a $250 million renovation. In Florida, Democrat Emily Gregory flipped a Republican-held Florida State House seat Tuesday in a district that includes President Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. Gregory defeated Trump-endorsed Republican John Maples in a district Trump won by 11 points in 2024. The previous Republican, Mike Russo, had won the seat by 19 percentage points just last year. Trump voted by mail in the race, despite frequently denouncing voting by mail as cheating. Democrats have now flipped 29 state legislative seats from Republican control since
29?
Trump took office.
What?
Minnesota
29?
officials have sued the Trump administration
That's
for
crazy.
access to evidence needed for an independent investigation into the killings of Renee Good and Alex Preti, and another non-fatal shooting by federal agents in Minneapolis. Minnesota state officials are seeking a court order demanding the Trump administration comply with a state probe. Meanwhile, Trump administration officials claim Minnesota does not have the jurisdiction to investigate the shootings. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison said, quote, this is extremely unusual. This is something that is arbitrary, capricious. It is coming from Washington, and it has scary implications for other parts of the country, he said. And in Argentina, thousands marched to the capital, Buenos Aires, Tuesday to mark 50 years since a U.S.-backed military coup in 1976 overthrew President Isabel Perón and established one of the bloodiest dictatorships in Latin America. An estimated 30,000 people were forcibly disappeared by state armed forces during Argentina's so-called Dirty War, which lasted until 1983. The current government of right-wing Argentine President Javier Milei has slashed funding for human rights groups investigating crimes that occurred during the dictatorship. This is Nestor Demilia, a retired teacher speaking from Buenos Aires.
At the time of the coup, there was also a deindustrialization of the Argentine economy. And well, like every year, we will continue fighting so that there is memory, truth, and justice, and that we can have a better government in the future.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter.
Can't say shit. Sounds like crap.
There have been real failures. Those failures, of course, extend beyond the borders of Illinois. They're national failures, a failure to have comprehensive immigration reform, a failure of the president to follow his own edict to go after the worst of the worst.
Illinois Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker pointing the finger at President Trump while addressing the murder of 18-year-old Loyola University student Sheridan Gorman. The suspected killer, an illegal immigrant with priors, but Pritzker's condolences may be too little too late for the freshman's family who have promised justice for Sheridan. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany here with my co-host, Emily Campagno. Also joining us, Molly Line, Fox News correspondent, Caroline Downey, National Review columnist, and Charles Payne, host of Making Money on Fox Business. Well, that was the first time that Governor Pritzker spoke on camera about Gorman's murder last Thursday. Prosecutors say she and her friends were walking along the waterfront, which Pritzker himself had bragged was safe just a few months ago, when a masked man who was hiding nearby opened fire. Chicago's Democratic Mayor Brandon Johnson also breaking his silence this morning. Here's what he had to say.
Disturbing acts of violence like this set us back as a city. We will not tolerate those who break the law and put the lives of others in danger. And as they do on a regular basis, our Chicago Police Department led a swift and decisive investigation and identified the person that is suspected of being responsible for her death.
The suspect, 25-year-old Venezuelan illegal immigrant Jose Medina was supposed to be in court yesterday, but his hearing was postponed because he's being treated for tuberculosis. He faces a number of charges, including first-degree murder. Gorman's mom promising, quote, "We are going to get justice for Sheridan. We have a voice and it is going to be heard. We are beyond shattered." It is a preventable tragedy. Caroline, and it's directly tied to liberal policies. Liberal policy number one, Medina entered the country illegally in May of 2023. President Biden was president. Liberal policy failure number two. June of 2023, he is arrested for shoplifting and yet released into the interior yet again. Number one, number two. And for those who say angel families are far and few, no, they are not. Let's just put up some of the pictures of these young women who are no longer with us. Rachel Morin, Jocelyn Nungary, all of their names, all of their pictures. You will see them here. And these are just 4 stories, all Biden administration policies.
Yeah, I think it's funny that J.B. Pritzker in this murder because he did that first. He oversees Chicago, which is a sanctuary city, which by definition defies and rejects federal law under this progressive pretense of humanitarianism. That's pretty dang political. And I also think it's worth reemphasizing just how little being asked to do. All they were being asked for an illegal alien who was previously charged with the crime into federal custody. And if they had done that, then Sheridan Gorman would still be alive today. Because after that shoplifting charge, that was enough proof that this guy should be handed over to the feds, but they didn't do that. And I think the other thing about J.B. Pritzker is clearly he has presidential ambitions here. And I think this is a test. If he is willing to stake so much on this issue, to put illegal aliens over innocent young girls' lives, that should be disqualifying for presidential ambitions.
Yeah, it should be. And the Trust Act that you refer to, passed by the liberal legislature there in Chicago, it bars federal and state cooperation. But what it's interesting to me, Emily, FoxNews.com asked J.B. Pritzker a number of questions. He responded finally to the murder of Sheridan. But here's what he didn't respond to. You see it here. Pritzker, however, did not respond to a second question on whether he would instruct Illinois authorities to abide by the Laken-Riley Act and hold illegal immigrants, including Medina,
What?
can pick them up.
How dare you?
He would not respond to a policy change that would stop the next young woman from.
We cannot overstate how much he has abdicated his duty as governor. And we see that in the micro sense.
Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Absolute codswallop, folks. Codswallop. Yep. I'm sorry about the crackling. I can't fix it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
In the macro, right? So he is failing to provide safety for his citizens, the most vulnerable among us, the youth, the students that are under his watch, which he came from New York there to Illinois. But then in refusing to answer those policy questions, do we all realize that he is catering?
You're saying that this gets a pass?
To his dopamine hits from the clicks of his social media. He is catering to the headlines, the sound bites. He is catering to the very woke small sliver of the far left that blames everything on President Trump, which is underscored by the fact that when asked about this, as we showed earlier, he blamed the president's sentence too. How many more pieces of legislation do we need with these beautiful young lives' names on them? The reality is none. We just need the laws to be enforced. And for anyone that argues and scoffs at the crime of shoplifting, by the way, clearly it is not dispositive for homicide.
I scoff.
When you look at the illegal alien entry,
and then you
look at the priors that they have. For example, in the case of Bambi Larson in San Jose, when people scoffed at the detainer request for someone that had multiple nonviolent, I use that in quotes, charges and convictions, well, then one day it was assault. And then one day it was
shoplifting is nonviolent, and usually it's brought upon by the fact that you're trying to fucking make it.
Assault on a cop, and then one day it was murder. So you cannot tell me that we are supposed to look in the other direction when a crime is committed on our soil by an already illegal immigrant and say that there is nonviolent attachment when also those same voices that are so petulantly and patently wrong with everything claim that, well, stalking's not violent or things like that. Because the reality is that that poor young girl shared, she was stalked and murdered, and that's also evidenced by the charge he's facing, which is first degree. And then you have those older people that say, oh, she startled him, that they excuse it away. For her family to have to come out and defend her actions that night, which was normal of a young college student, and then have to plead for the laws to be enforced while that fat governor blames everything on the president and eyes the Oval Office as his aspirations is sickening to me. When did public service become simply social media?
Yeah, you know, Charles, totally correct that he blamed President Trump. He said he politicized this, but remove President Trump for one moment from this. I want to go back to the family's initial statement. Before President Trump even spoke about this, they said, we are greatly disappointed by policies and failures that allowed this individual to remain in a position to commit this crime. When systems fail, the consequences are not abstract. They are real and, in our case, permanent. So he can blame Trump for politicizing this, but Trump is simply saying what the family said. Right. Policies failed our family.
Right. It's a cop-out. As soon as you hear that, along with the crocodile tears from the governor and the mayor of Chicago, it's just, again, you know, it's totally heartbreaking, and I'm not sure he's catering to the sliver, if he's the king of that sliver of the party, to be quite frank with you. And you broaden this out for a nation. Right now, we're talking about long lines at airports and disarray because the Democratic Party, they don't want to deport people. Illegals. People have come here illegally. They simply don't want to deport them. We know a large faction of them are violent. They're saying they're okay with that. Essentially, de facto, that's what they're saying, and that's why we have this partial shutdown. That's what they're saying. That's the mountain, that's the hill they want to die on, is that we want illegals here who are violent, illegal people in this country to stay here, and then when these murders happen, over and over and over again, we'll get in front of a microphone and act like we care, when in fact we don't.
Yeah, that's 100% correct.
Right.
And the family, they've been so strong in their statements, and now they've said, you know, we want to grieve and celebrate this beautiful life this week. And you just think about them as they are about to lay their daughter to rest, that they even had to come out to Emily's exact point and say what Sheridan did and what she was doing that night was normal. It was safe. It's what students do every day.
Yeah, and now they're holding a celebration of life this Saturday for Sheridan Gorman to talk about her life and why it mattered and what a beautiful human being she was, really focused on her. But this family has been remarkable in offering this additional clarity in that very simple statement that put out that this comes down to policies. But they end that statement by saying accountability must be complete, that this needs to go all the way. Yep. I think there's a little bit of a crack possibly coming in the Democratic wall on this issue. Remember, there was the alderwoman who got so much pushback when she implied that the victims may have somehow startled someone with a gun, and got so much pushback on that particular comment. But there's a comptroller there, a Democratic comptroller there in the state, talking about how heartbroken she is for this family. Comptroller Susana Mendoza, a Democrat, saying, hold him, prosecute him, deport him to a prison in El Salvador. So we'll see if some Democrats begin to see what specific policies could address these specific loss of life and what that could eventually mean moving forward if there's a crack in that wall coming.
Yeah, and let's hope they start by enforcing the Laken Riley Act and taking away sanctuary policies that are deadly, that kill young women.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest.
Guys, it's Will Kane in the membrane. Will Kane in the membrane. That's right. Will Kane in the membrane. Will Kane in the membrane. Wow. You can see it. Wow. I hate my sound right now. I hate it. What are you doing?
Interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.
All right, welcome to iHip News. I have our warrior.
It's Kyle.
Our cynical pragmatist.
Kyle's
Kyle
back.
Kulinski joining us today. Kyle, how are you?
I'm doing great, and thank you for that. I've never been called a cynical pragmatist, but I think I like it.
I think it's true. I mean, if the shoe fits.
Cynical pragmatist.
One. I like that. Very creative.
All right.
Cynical pragmatist. Cynical. Okay, we got it now.
Let's go right into pick me Gavin Newsom, who seems to be changing his opinion based on the news cycles. So
Pick me.
I just want to play the clip and then let's dissect it. Play the clip.
Consider yourself a
Play
Zionist.
the clip, folks. Play the clip.
Consider myself a Zionist.
Yes.
I believe, I revere the state of Israel. I'm proud to support the state of Israel. I deeply, deeply oppose Bibi Netanyahu's leadership, his opposition to the two-state solution, and deeply oppose
you oppose
how
it?
he is
What do you mean,
indulging
dude?
the far right as it relates to what's going on in the
What
West
do you
Bank.
mean,
You
dude?
using the word apartheid to describe Israel? I used it. I do in this.
Yeah, I do. But I still support Israel. What does he mean? What does that mean, chat? What? Gavin, you suck. Bro, he sucks. Bro, he sucks.
Context that I said it and I referenced why I used it, a Tom Friedman article in that same sentence where Tom used it in the context of the direction that Bibi is going.
Not the current
and the
state.
concern, correct.
Okay.
And that is a legitimate concern
What?
I
You're
have
gonna let him off
that
on
I
that,
share
bro?
with Tom.
You're gonna let him
that
off?
direction. If
I've heard enough.
Oh
Wait,
my God.
why are we in this world where you cannot say a fact that Israel is an apartheid state? Why do we have Democrats that are denying facts in the same way that MAGA does? Kyle.
I mean, the main reason is the Israel lobby,
Actually.
right? And like the main one everybody comes to mind is AIPAC, but there's other elements to the Israel lobby.
There always is. There always is, chat.
As well. There's DMFI, Democratic Majority for Israel. There's other shell groups now.
There's always
They're
the
basically
group.
Israel lobby money that they call like elect Chicago women and like bland
Elect
stuff like
Chicago
that. And that's the
women.
main reason. Like that has a stranglehold on the Democratic
use-
Party in the same way that obviously the entire Republican Party is too far
It's
gone on
funded
this stuff.
by
And they're
AIPAC.
totally bought by the Israel lobby.
Literally
and
funded
what
by the
Newsom
Israel
is doing
lobby.
there is called the one bad man theory of politics.
Yep.
You know how there's like the one great man theory of politics? There's
Yep.
the one bad man theory where they go, look, if we just get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu, everything would be phenomenal
Yeah.
with Israel. But the problem with that is it's total BS. There's this guy named Yair Lapid, who's the opposition to Netanyahu, and he also is in favor of what's called the Greater Israel Project, which basically means Israel gets to crusade through the Middle East, basically steal the entire Middle East, and create their own version of the Fourth Reich. Okay, so there is no... it is genuinely a problem with
correct.
Israeli society. I just saw a poll earlier today. Up to 95% of Israelis support this illegal and offensive
We're back.
war on Iran. Whereas here in the U.S., the average is about 35% of people in this country support that stupid war. So we have a real problem here, and we do ourselves no favors by not like accurately describing
We're back, folks.
I completely agree. And you have
I agree.
this, now there's this narrative that if you say that Israel
If you say
played a
it.
huge part in bringing us into the war, that's somehow
say it, that's
anti-Semitic.
true.
But when I do a roll call on this, little Marco said it. Little Moses Mike Grinder Johnson said it. Trump himself has said it. And Benjamin Netanyahu said it, where he said, my dream, my 40-year dream of
Wait. Are you guys seeing this?
Gotta have them ribs. And pussy too.
invading Iran.
good.
But yet, if somebody on the left or this guy that left the Trump regime and ran home to
Joe Kent,
Tucker
yeah.
Carlson, Joe Kent.
We gotta close that.
If they say it,
Doesn't
then
work.
somehow it's anti-Semitic. And we have to live in a society where you can criticize governments.
Hello?
You have to be able, like, I believe right now, any of our
Yeah, no
allies,
shit.
any country, criticize the shit out of the United States of America. We deserve it. There's a
You have to be able to do that, chat. You have to be able to do that. There's no way around it. If you don't do that, you're screwed. Right?
portion of our electorate that is
Right,
dumb
chat?
as fuck, and they need to be ridiculed and criticized.
Yeah.
because
call
the
'em-
whole
call 'em
world
what they are.
order
Racist pieces of shit. Right?
hangs in the balance of how people in Wisconsin vote, and that's insane.
Yep. Yeah, and it's also, by the way, just factually
That's how I
speaking,
look
it's
at it.
apartheid. This is not really like a matter of debate or discussion when he says, oh, no, I regret calling it apartheid. Okay, well, then you're just disagreeing with like every major
What? Why
human
would you
rights
do
group
that?
on the planet. You're disagreeing with, I mean, genocide, for example, that's another one. He said to Ben Shapiro,
Yeah, I
what
know,
they
right?
did in Gaza is not
That's
a
crazy.
genocide. Okay, well, then you're arguing with B'Tselem, who's the #1 human rights group in Israel.
Arguing with B'Tselem is not a good idea. Right? Because why would you do that? 'Cause 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 Just a little bit of denoiser, chat. That's all you need. Get rid of that background hum.
Okay, so at this point, it's political suicide to try to still split the difference
You just can't.
and somehow take like this middle path to the issue of Israel. Read the room. Like the Democratic base, I've seen polls anywhere from 3% to a maximum of 15% of our
Read the
base
room.
actually supports Israel. And you think you're going to be the nominee doing this sort of chicken shit nonsense?
What
There's
is
no
he
way
doing?
that's going to work.
He's so stupid.
Okay, let's now discuss
You
the
think he would figure this
danger
out?
and the lie
He's not as smart as he thinks he is. You know what I mean?
that occurs where the far right people like Benjamin Netanyahu try to conflate, and that Jonathan Greenblatt, that criticizing Israel is somehow anti-Semitic, which is so disrespectful to so many Jewish Americans who rabidly criticize Israel.
Yeah,
and I think
that, like-
that they do this whole thing like,
Yeah. Also, like, it's telling Jews that they're not allowed to, you know, criticize Israel, which is representing quote unquote Jews. And you're supposed to go, yeah, I'm good with that. You're supposed to just sit by and watch it happen. I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's okay.
the lie is this, Kyle. The lie is you're making Jews less safe. And it's like the people that are making Jews less safe are the people that are going for the greater Israel project.
True.
And they'll take down everybody.
That's right. And Zionism, by definition, is supporting an ethno-state.
Yep.
You're saying I support an ethno-state and I support a theocracy.
That's what I mean.
And I thought we all agreed.
You can't escape that.
You know, secular
Know what I mean?
democracy is the best way to go. I thought we all agreed that human rights and equality is the way to go. I don't make random exceptions to those ideas. I think as a matter of principle, since I believe in Enlightenment values, equality matters, democracy matters, secularism matters.
It's like Zionists are like, you know, everyone but us. Of course, we can do whatever we want, but everyone else has to obey laws. They're like, boo hoo, we got bombed. We're talking to the International Criminal Court. It's like, no, we don't care.
So no, you're not going to bully me into saying I'm against all ethno-states except this one that I'm going to carve an exemption for.
Yeah, because
that's like imagine somebody doing that with like apartheid South Africa. Yeah, I'm against all ethno-states except apartheid South Africa. It's like, that's crazy. You sound ridiculous when you say that.
You sound like an idiot.
I completely agree. And now you have some of the Democrats that are getting the message on this. And again, Gavin Newsom changing his opinions. Other Dems changing their position now. It feels like,
what? Why are they going back? I don't understand. I don't understand why they do that. It's so crazy.
Pick me, like they don't believe in anything. And so pop this up, Kylie. Democrats eyeing 2028 are ditching American Israel Public Affairs Committee money as voters turn against Israel's government. Booker, Newsom, Gallego, Shapiro, Bashir all distance themselves, making it a likely litmus test in the primary. So here's my question. If the Democrats are not clear-eyed and look in the camera and say, we do not support apartheid, we do not support genocide.
Even MAGA used to say, you know, no wars. No, why are we? Even Marjorie Taylor Greene, she quit because we started wars.
Benjamin Netanyahu is a liar and a war criminal, and we are not going to partner with a war criminal because we already have a president that's a war criminal.
That's true.
And we're anti all of that. We're anti every single bit of that. And Tucker Carlson is making points in 30-second clips where I know a lot of people, that's how they consume politics in flyover states. Like, oh, he says Israel, I mean, he says that MAGA lost the message. And their whole thing now is, it was never about the man. It was always about the movement. We really are America first. How dangerous is it that Democrats
it was never
do
about
not
the
have
man.
moral clarity
It was
on
always
this to
about
carve
the
the way and
movement.
incubate somebody like
That's what
Tucker
they say.
Carlson, who I think is going to run for president?
Yeah, I mean, shit, that's a whole can of worms
Gavin
that we can open up there. But I genuinely believe the Republican
Gavin Newsom, he's the worst. Some would say he's an absolute worst. Some would say it's even worse than that.
The Republican project is cooked. post-Trump. I really think for a generation, Republicans are not going to be chosen by the American people because everything is, I mean, we're going to have a Great Depression. We're already in like World War III at the moment. But to your broader point here about AIPAC, the argument needs to be cut off all the money, cut off all the weapons, and sanction Israel. And what they're doing here is the Democrats are effectively trying to do a trick where they say, oh, yeah, we'll write off AIPAC. But it's like, okay, did you write off
AIPAC?
J Street?
Sure
Did you write off all the other shell groups that effectively are Israel lobby money? Because the Israel lobby is adjusting. And now they're changing their name to random shell groups, and they're running ads for their preferred candidates where they don't even mention Israel. They're like hiding the fact that they support Israel. So they've adjusted, and they know you're still going to have candidates like Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker and Josh Shapiro. They are going to find a way to get that Israel lobby money because the Israel lobby knows, hey, these are people who will actually support us. And that's where we need to be sophisticated. And so we need to get right to the point. Do you support an arms embargo on Israel? Do you support cutting off all subsidies to Israel moving forward? And if they waffle on that or they get it wrong, then we should have no interest in them whatsoever for being the standard bearer for the Democrats.
Okay. And what do you think? Like, I have this fantasy where some progressive senators will, and you hear rumblings of it, but then they never do anything, where it's like Senator Warren, Chris Van Hollen, Chris Murphy, and others just revolt and say, Schumer, hit the bricks. This is, you're not meeting the moment. How effective do you think it would be right now for a Democratic Party if in the House they said, Hakeem, hit the bricks, buddy, we're stripping you, and in the Senate they did it, and they actually governed with an accelerant.
It's just never going to happen, Chat.
Governs with an accelerant on him,
right?
And we started playing offense, and we started controlling the news cycle. Because even Trump has said, I'm surprised at how little pushback I get from these people. He said that out loud.
What? I did not know he said that. Actually crazy. Actually crazy, Chat. Actually crazy. Actually crazy. Wow.
Do you think the impact that would have on the Democrats' abysmal polling numbers if they actually grew a pair?
We would have prime FDR numbers. At FDR's peak, he had 80% of the House and 80% of the Senate, and he won 4 presidential elections before they put in term limits. This guy dominated the country, and Republicans were moving towards Democrats and trying to be more like Democrats because they thought, we're going to lose forever if we don't adjust and act more like FDR and support the New Deal and stuff like that. That's what we would be looking at if we had a Democratic Party that fought. But right now, their strategy is we're going to go hide in the corner and sit in the cuck chair and let Republicans destroy the country and then emerge and say,
time to sit in the cuck chair. That's right.
And look, don't get me wrong. We're going to win by doing that because the Republicans are so odious, but we're going to win by 6 points as opposed to winning by 28 points. And like, I want them to learn here and start fighting and actually do something for the American public. It would be phenomenal.
That was a good one.
I completely agree. I get so angry. Like, I see all the shit that Trump does. And then my mind goes to, okay, what are Chuck?
Literally, gas prices are affecting my ability to drive to work right now. Not going to lie. It's fucked up. It shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't have revolving gas prices where every day I drive to work and it's a different price. What? Ever increasing for 30 days now.
Schumer and Hakeem doing about it? Fucking nothing. And then my mind goes to, oh my God, Joe Biden, he fucked us. He fucked us so hard. He had one fucking job after the insurrection, one goddamn job. That guy should be in jail. And here we are again. So I started reading from a lot of scholars, and scholars say that oftentimes liberals collaborate with fascists to keep the economic system of private equity and private interest intact. And that's what.
Wow. She is becoming one of the best leftists to exist right now, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. Love this girl.
what you see so many Democrats doing. And the fact that they're crowdsourcing whether they should take AIPAC money or not is pretty maddening. But here is, I didn't want to play the clip, so I'll read to you what it says. It's Jon Stewart, and he talks about an incredible false equivalency in American culture and Western media. Jon Stewart completely exposes U.S. hypocrisy. He points out how Washington screamed war crimes when Russia bombed Ukraine. But when Netanyahu slaughters thousands of civilians in Gaza, the U.S. just says, hey, guys, be cool. The double standard is sickening.
Yeah, I mean, Russia is an official state enemy, so you're able to say whatever you want against them. You could even lie about how bad they are, but when it comes to Israel, they're an ally, and we take a lot of money from the Israel lobby. And we also have some genuinely psychotic evangelical Christian religious Zionists, and that's why you have that double standard. But yeah, it's to the point where it's almost like, it really is like suicidal at this point, where I'm starting to believe, do they have Epstein blackmail on like 80% of the people in Congress? Because it's humiliating at this late date to not stand up to them when they're like ushering in World War III and they're bombing.
No, Kyle, they're all old farts. They're all old as fuck. Okay? They're old as fuck, and they don't care. They just want to sit their term out, make their money, and then let the fucking next generation take over, like you. They don't fucking care. They just don't.
Elementary schools, and they're like doing every hideous crime you can imagine.
You know, I'm with you on that, because I think sometimes, okay, they have to be blackmailed. Why are they not standing up for this? But I think that's a person, you and me, with conviction, applying what it would take us in that position
and
to
they
not
have no conviction whatsoever.
I think these politicians get so broken when they start taking money from these corrupt corporations, and it breaks them. And I mean, probably there's, Epstein blackmail footage and other footage on Trump, but like Hakeem and others, no, I just think they're pussies. I do. I think they just start taking money and it breaks them. And then they end up playing this pick-me politics like thirst trap Newsom is doing. And I feel like if we don't have a Democratic Party that is a full-blown opposition party,
is a thirst trap.
I really like what you said about the Republican Party's done, but I thought that after George W. Bush. I thought they were cooked forever. And George W. Bush incubated Trump, and us not dealing with the Abu Ghraib, the CIA black sites, the banking crisis, we just let it go. And that's the through line in all of this. Trump just didn't appear out of anywhere, is that we allow wealthy people to do bad shit and get away with it. And the most recent one is Joe Biden with January 6th. They never went after the Biden DOJ, never went after the people who funded January 6th. They went after the dipshits that were bussed in from the trailer park that committed the felonies.
And you have Jack Smith said, like, if I was able to finish my job, for sure, Trump was going to prison. He said that recently. And I remember my heart sinking like, oh my God, we could have avoided all this. But to your point, we now need an absolute litmus test on the Democratic side. I don't want to hear from you if you're running for president, if you're not saying we are going to jail all of these disgusting, degenerate criminals that are in the White House. I'm talking Stephen Miller. I'm talking Elon Musk. I'm talking Pam Bondi. I'm talking Donald Trump. I'm talking all of them. And of course, and I genuinely think that it is more likely than ever that we get sort of a Democratic renegade winner who comes out of nowhere, because the politics, as usual, is not going to work here. And the biggest mistake Obama made was saying, we're going to look forward. We're not going to look backwards when it comes to prosecuting the Bush era criminals. And a Democrat, we cannot afford. If that same mistake is made, we genuinely no longer have a country. We basically elect an emperor for 4 or 8 years, and then they get to do whatever the hell they want, will commit whatever crimes they want, go on a crime spree if they so please, right? And then there's no accountability. So we need that. I think we're ripe for that, though. So I'd be surprised if it wasn't somebody like a Graham Plattner, for example, who comes out of nowhere and ends up winning. Somebody who really is touching every so-called third rail that is not really a third rail, but the establishment group thinkers are convinced is a third rail. You're going to call what happened in Gaza a genocide. You're going to say this is World War III. You're going to say that there's Epstein blackmail on Trump and he was fucking 13-year-olds. Katie Johnson is one of them, right? You're going to have people saying these things. They're going to be the ones who get ahead. It's not going to be this milquetoast nonsense from Gavin Newsom or Josh Shapiro or any of them.
I completely agree. Okay. Now I just want to play
Kyle.
a video for you of a senator from my home state. I refer to him as Senator Booster Box because he is so vertically challenged. When he stands at a podium, he has to stand up on a big boy box so that they can see him over the podium. This is the same senator who is now replacing puppy killer Kristi Noem, who we all know it's a puppet job. We all know Stephen Miller runs DHS. Everybody knows who the daddy at DHS is. And it's not Mark Wayne Mullen. But interestingly, here is him talking about being a daddy to his daughter. Play the clip.
Now, you take Lara, for instance, when she was a girl, trying to spank her Dale was like a 4-minute ordeal because she's like, no, daddy, no, daddy, no, daddy. No. I'm sorry, daddy, I'm sorry, daddy. And then she'd get madder and madder, and she just couldn't bring herself to even bend over for me to be able to bust her butt. And I was like, honey, you got like 2 seconds, or you're going to get 2 instead of 1.
How are we losing to these fucking people, Kyle? How
fucking loser?
How do we lose to these fucking people?
Pedocon theory is a theory like gravity is a theory at this point.
Know, right?
There's a great video that I think it was Midas Touch put together like a couple of years ago. It's basically all about pedocon theory. And they just go like one after the other, after the other, after the other. You're like a dozen Republicans deep where it's like pedo. And at this point, it's like they all have something weird going on with sex, whether it's the anti-gay guys that love gobbling cock in a New Jersey Turnpike bathroom, or it's this guy talking about his daughter saying, "Daddy, don't spank me," and he's like, "I'm going to spank you." Like, what is this, man? I don't know. You have some phenomenal theories on this that you should share with everybody. Yeah, I
think that I grew up in Mark Wayne Mullen state, and there's so much shame that kids. The number one thing they're taught is, don't have sex until you're married. Like, not be a good person, don't lie, none of that shit. Because all you have to do is ask Jesus for it. So it's super like purity, abstinence culture. And in that just comes a lot of fuckery, a lot of people that are really messed up sexually. And the entire MAGA movement, all of these MAGA men, I mean, for sure, I think there's just a lot of DL. I think there's probably a lot of bi-curious situation where these men are watching porn after their wife goes to bed. They see a penis, they get excited about it, then they feel terrible, and then they terrorize the country. And I just think there's a whole Freudian dive into a lot of this. And I have so much empathy for anybody that feels like they need to be in the closet because of societal restrictions and judgment that comes from being gay or bisexual or whatever. But these people that browbeat gay people all day long, pass legislation to deny them equality, and then fetishize it at night. I mean, that's just pretty disgusting, Lindsey Graham.
And also, I seem to remember Madison Cawthorn back when he was a congressperson.
Yeah. Wasn't he running around his panties grabbing penis?
Well, Madison Cawthorn was the one who came out and said that he was invited to basically like a congressional orgy.
Yes.
Another Republican invited him to a congressional orgy. And he was like a little shocked by that. And so he said that, and then they unleashed holy hell on him and released all of the Oppo research that they had on him. And he was out of there by the next election. Right. And so I'm constantly reminded that when you look at the movie Eyes Wide Shut with Tom Cruise, that's a documentary. That is not just a movie.
No, he's
right. And you watch that thing and you go, holy cow, this is how it really functions. And again, with all that Epstein blackmail, there's a lot of people in elite 1% circles who not only are they into gross shit, they know other 1%ers who are into disgusting shit, and they all keep the secret like it's a frat or like it's a sorority, and they do the most disgusting, gross things you can imagine. And then I always find it hilarious because, me and Crystal, for example, we're flaming lefties, but we have the most fucking heteronormative relationship you've ever seen in your life. We're the classic, like, Leave It to Beaver with the fucking white picket fence and the 3 kids and all that stuff. Yes. And the people who, like, desperately cling to that ideal are the ones who are all sorts of hangups around sex that are just, like, hard to wrap your mind around.
Kind of right.
Okay, one final question, just because I want your take on this. I think it's really fascinating. So we just have this situation where Netanyahu is endorsing Orban, who is the puppet of Vladimir Putin. You have Netanyahu sent his son to Hungary. And I think it's fascinating that the American Republican Party looks to Hungary for inspiration. And the Democrats haven't exploited the messaging in that to say, we don't need to look to Hungary for inspiration. We can look to our founders. It'd be such a layup over flyover states to make that kind of patriotic argument. But it's fascinating that Netanyahu is passively aligning with Putin, who is helping the Iranians right now kill and target Americans. What's your cynical pragmatist take on that, Kyle?
I would say authoritarian solidarity is probably the big thing. And then the second thing is always follow the money. There's guaranteed to be something with the money. I mean, I'm sure you've seen everything with Trump and the market manipulation when it comes to the war, how like every Monday morning,
it's like, oh, going to war. Oh, no, we won on Thursday.
All of a sudden, oh, the war is solved and everything's great and we're having phenomenal talks. And then every Friday, as soon as the market closes, it's like World War III, let's go blow up everything. And so there's always going to be some through line where it comes to, payoffs and all sorts of corrupt schemes. And so that would be my takeaway. But, Trump and Netanyahu, they're like the quintessential authoritarians. So there is some sort of weird alliance that they've created with other authoritarian leaders. And I think it's time for the left to get serious about like left-wing internationalism, where you can have a coalition of people like, Lula in Brazil, for example, Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico. All the left-wing leaders need to come together and band together and help each other in a way that right now only the right does. And they have that advantage. They have that class solidarity, that Epstein class solidarity, where they're all one percenters and they all look out for each other. And we need to have a similar sort of organizational structure, but for the working class.
Actual class.
All right, Kyle, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Well, the Transportation Department in a new push to actively enforce regulations for obtaining a commercial driver's license after several deadly crashes involving illegal immigrants.
This is bullshit,
Alexis McAdams has been driving around northern Florida with...
They've been sharing the same video of the same guy for the last 2 years now about this fucking bullshit. It's a bunch of contrived bullshit. Anyway, it's funny, though.
Transportation officials trying to crack down on the problem. Alexis.
Yeah, Emily, there's a lot of work to do, not just here in Florida, but across the country. You can check it out over my shoulder there. That's one of the busiest interstates here in Florida. It goes all the way from there, Jacksonville to Los Angeles. And we saw a lot of truckers that were pulled over for safety violations because the DOT says, quite simply, they should not be behind the wheel of a big rig because a lot of them failed those safety exams and don't speak or read basic English, which is a big problem. Listen to this, okay?
We don't have to speak English to drive a truck in America, folks. Okay? You don't have to speak English. Okay? It's not normal. This is the weirdest flex, too, because, like, it's not getting anyone anywhere. It's like, let's disrupt trucking. Like, that's going to do the same kind of thing that literally Trump's trying to disrupt the whole economy. I swear to God, he's doing the actual opposite of what should make the economy work. Not going to lie. God damn. Like, he is... The 4 things he's done, the tariffs, the Iran war, I mean, and this kind of thing, like microly, like he's doing this all over. It's disrupting shit, bro. Like, does he realize just-in-time exists? Just-in-time manufacturing, like, depends on things coming on time. We don't have shit laying around in warehouses. It gets delivered.
Troopers here in Florida tell me that nearly half of the truckers that pass through these weigh stations here don't speak English. Watch this.
So does that mean que rings salida salida derecha. Can you say it in English what that means? Get your English better. English is okay. No bueno.
So that trucker failed the test. He was taken out of service right away. This comes as the Trump administration is really just enforcing existing laws. It's a federal law to have this English requirement for truckers so they can read the signs and talk to police. DOT Administrator Derek Bars is leading this trucking safety crackdown with state troopers. Bars tells me that he was a trooper for years here with the Florida Highway Patrol, so he knows what to look for. He explains there are many drivers here illegally who should not have a commercial driver's license, but they get them in states like California, according to the DOT.
Ooh, they really
it
got
comes
him.
after several deadly crashes that police say were caused by truckers in the country illegally.
Yeah. Bakazan Bazikov and Hardajar Singh and Jasanpreet Singh. Yeah, those people, they're really dangerous. Super dangerous people. They're going to be able to drive better than any fucking old 90-year-old you're giving a goddamn license to. What are you talking about? It's just some bullshit, dude. Leave these people alone. They're just here to fucking make money. They're just grinding on the road. There's no fucking conspiracy here. What the fuck?
They had CDLs, but they should have never had them in the first place. Back in August, police say an illegal migrant from India pulled a U-turn on a Florida turnpike. This was one that made headlines. He blocked the road and is charged with killing 3 people.
Okay, so this is why they're going after all the immigrants. So in that sense, then you should be going after every trucker. This is disgusting.
Right to jail, right away.
The ones that we are targeting are the ones who are not doing the right thing. Those are the ones that need to be off the roadways. They're
the ones
that are putting families at risk.
The ones.
So, again, when you're driving 70 miles per hour, right, Emily, on a highway, you got to read the signs. If you can't, it could be deadly.
No, you don't.
Back to you.
So frightening.
No, you don't. You can be 90 and not be able to even see the signs and still drive. Shut up.
Thank you, Alexis, so much. All right, so bringing the conversation to the couch, as Alexis mentioned, there's Delilah's Law, which hideously is named after a young girl critically injured in one of these accidents. It's just asking for undocumented illegal immigrants to not get those CDLs when they don't speak English.
Yeah, and this gets to the a lot of it to these operators.
What does
some of these
speaking
truck
English
companies,
have to do with it?
They're willing to put American lives at risk for extra money.
How?
And you should see in the last year or so on social media, all these truck drivers, native-born truck drivers, are saying, I've lost hours, I've lost wages. We're 80,000 truck drivers short. These long-haul truck drivers, they're good-paying jobs, at least they were, and this is just cutting corners and putting people's lives at risk, and it hurts the economy. It's just a lose-lose for everyone involved, except the people who are making a few extra bucks. It's a shame. It's really a damn shame.
You just said that. You just said they need drivers. And where are we going to be straining the driving people? What? Do you realize when a trucker can't get a truck, that means they have to send the next truck. That delays it. Hello? Am I tripping? I'm tripping. Okay. It's fine. Can I please get paid some money one of these days? Some real money, because all the idiots get to run the world. And they get to sit up here and yap like this guy. His suit's worth more than my fucking yearly salary.
Haley, Charles hits the nail on the head. Nothing about this is malicious. Nothing about this is intentional. And we see that the deep remorse of these individuals. But when you cut corners, you put the safety of Americans at issue. And the reality is here, by simply enforcing the laws or setting those laws, then the standards would be such that everyone would be protected, including those drivers whose lives are also over.
I think about this all the time when I drive. You know, I pack my SUV with all the little kids, and you're driving and you're looking at these massive trucks, and some of them are 80,000 pounds. And you
look in the truck and you see, oh, is there an immigrant in there or is it a white person? If I see a white person, I'm like, oh, that's great. And if I don't,
think you can be driving and doing everything right, and through no fault of your own, someone who illegally got a CDL could crash into your car. It's a terrifying prospect. You see the wrong way driving, the illegal U-turn.
No one got a CDL illegally. There is no claims that they never.
And overall, 30 individuals in 2025 have been killed because of the CDL issue. Sean Duffy has done a phenomenal job. Hat tip to him. He did an audit nationwide, and what he found was that in California, New York rather, 53% of CDLs were issued illegally. California, there were 17,000 non-domiciled CDL holders who should not have had a CDL. Illinois, 1 in 5.
Non-domiciled?
So he is
CDL owners that didn't have a place to rent. What does that mean?
been surveying state by state to fix this problem and threatening federal funds and saving lives because of it.
And the reality is that the gravity of these accidents, these are not minor. So the three examples we put on the screen, the losses of life were 4, 4, and 3. I mean, it is devastatingly huge.
Yeah, the gravity is quite literally fatal. Just in February, a semi-truck driver from Uzbekistan had been issued a CDL in Pennsylvania, was arrested after this head-on collision that killed 4 people. So one of the highlights there. You know, it's interesting, Alexis, fabulous report about what's being done in Florida. Also, just in December, there was a massive crackdown across California called ICE, Operation Highway Sentinel. Over 100 illegal operators, CDL alien truck drivers, were brought into custody in just that operation alone. And what's so challenging about this is you can be issued the license and then take that, what essentially is a massive weapon in some cases, you know, a giant truck, as you mentioned, as families are cruising down the highways all across the nation and may not be living up to the standards that every state should have universally. And it seems fairly reasonable common sense that you should be able to read the road signs if you're going to be out there driving a massive truck on the road. So then the question is about enforcement and follow-up as these laws change.
They didn't say anything about white boys driving without CDLs, did they now? See how much bullshit this is, you chat? You see what I mean? You see how much fucking bullshit they're feeding you on this? This is bullshit.
And people take action, because you could take the action, but who's going to ensure that the drivers are actually able to do it?
Totally. And I wanted to come to you on this point, which is that as we saw Alexis showing the clip where, you know, the keep right sign was not understood, but from the left, and as always, from the sort of liberal hysterics, they say that these laws are racist. They say that requiring English speaking is racist. So at what point, though?
Yeah, it is.
Is there compassion cruel when all of these lives have been snuffed out, not because someone was racist, but simply because the driver did not understand a roadway?
No, you don't know why they did what they did or the accident. You're not pointing out exactly like what happened. You're like, oh yeah, the truck driver was a illegal immigrant, like you say, right? And then they saw this sign and they didn't read it and then they crashed. No, probably all 3 of those weren't even caused by not reading signs. So kiss my ass. This is the bullshit fucking report.
We should be making the same argument we make for violent crime committed by illegal aliens. Every car.
No one wants anyone to be on the streets that commit violent crime. None of these people are committing violent crimes. A CDL is not a violent crime. Not being able to read a road sign is not it's not a violent crime. What do you mean? Just because one of those people that happens to have a bad CDL and can't read signs happens to get in a car accident with his quote unquote bad CDL and that doesn't mean that every single migrant is going to now be crashing. Do you understand how many people are driving right now as you speak? God.
Crash involving an illegal alien with an improperly issued driver's license.
Okay. Like I said, what?
Was 100% preventable. And we have to remember that they already flouted.
How is it 100% preventable? How? Oh, by saying because immigrant can't drive, get out.
The most basic tenet of our national laws, our sovereignty by entering.
There's no basic tenet.
Illegally. So why do all these democratic states?
That's not the basic tenet of all of our laws. Are you fucking kidding me right now? You mean as a MAGA? Yeah. Okay.
Obviously not Florida. They're taking reforms. Why do they trust illegal aliens with something as so symbolic and special as the American privilege and rite of passage that is driving? And I think.
Hello? I'm sorry, but assuming because someone's an immigrant, then assuming because they are an immigrant, they illegally got a CDL simply by being an immigrant, they automatically have an illegal CDL, which isn't true. Those are 2 things, 2 leaps of fantasy right there. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Do you hear what she just said? Holy shit.
Something as so symbolic and special as the American privilege and right of
Yeah, the American privilege and rite of passage. So a 40-year-old guy who comes here from Pakistan and decides to drive a truck and doesn't have, quote unquote, his proper papers yet because he's waiting for 7 years to get fucking in like every other immigrant, and is driving along, so happens to get in an accident, is then told his CDL is invalid, and every single migrant in the United States that has a CDL also has an illegal CDL. That's what she's saying.
passage that is driving. And I think the goal
And that the other side of that is that person from Pakistan could have more driving experience than a white guy who just got his fucking CDL and is legal. So how were we assuming that's what's happening here by this 3 accident review? We aren't. This isn't truth. That's what I'm saying. I just wanted to go through it because you guys are, you guys hear me go, well, they're lying. Okay, well, I just showed you how they're lying. Okay, that's how they lie. So when you hear me say they're lying, I don't need to explain it to you. Maybe, unless you want to hear it.
here is amnesty by 1,000 cuts. Their plan is to blur the line between illegal alien and legal alien incrementally by offering them incentives such as the access to a vehicle, to drive a car. We have statistics that show when those laws
Where we have statistics that show
are actually implemented, making it more permissible in these states to get a driver's license as an illegal alien, the bus usage goes down. So this is being used widespread, but the point is to incentivize them to come here illegally. And it's just like the same with how Democrats oppose E-Verify in the agricultural sector. They don't want to cut off those incentives.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily.
Bombshell new report is exposing elections fraud in the state of California. New videos showing some of the homeless population in the state of elections fraud in the state of California. New videos showing some of the homeless population being bribed with cash and drugs in exchange for registering to vote and signing election petitions. The National News Desk, Jeff Harris, joins us in this group who took this video, Jeff. They shared over 24 times. It appears to show cash exchange for ballot signatures and registration forms. Tell us more.
So in the nearly half-hour video, independent journalist James O'Keefe and his team are seen posing undercover on Skid Row in Los Angeles, all in an effort to expose election fraud, including what appears to be people being encouraged to use fake addresses to sign petitions and register to vote.
Oh, let's go.
From fake addresses to bribes, independent journalist James O'Keefe and his team recently went undercover along LA's Skid Row to expose election fraud in California.
After 9, they're going to give you additional one more sign. After that one more, you get $3.
But what is that petition for? You know the petition for?
O'Keefe says in the nearly half-hour video, they captured 28 times state non-governmental employees encouraged the homeless to use fake addresses in order to sign petitions and register to vote.
Do I put it in my address? Yeah, just put up. You live on Pinocchio Lane? Oh, you can just take it out.
Oh, good.
In this video, we captured it 28 times over the course of a few days.
Looks like they were signing some people up to vote.
Tens, if not hundreds of thousands of times.
On hidden cameras, petitioners admitting they're paid between $7 and $10 per signature, but it is a federal crime to provide false information on a voter registration form or offer payment.
Now, because you haven't registered, I need to register you so I can get paid too. I'm paying you guys, I need to get paid.
The video also highlighting the LA Homeless Services Authority, who distributes federal money to Weingart Center, a homeless service in LA. A LASA employee being caught on camera directing people to where fraudulent petitioners were located and coaching plausible deniability.
Go to Skid Row and see if there's people out there with clipboards. Patient ignorance is no excuse for the law, but a lot of them I have to say I didn't know. I had no idea.
In response to the reporting, state leaders, including the first assistant U.S. attorney for the Central District of California, acknowledging what's being shown, writing on X, quote, "I want to assure the public that this DOJ, under the leadership of Attorney General Pam Bondi, will aggressively pursue anyone and everyone involved in violating federal election laws." The L.A. District Attorney's Office also responding to O'Keefe.
Sure do.
Our office received your complaint and will open a file for preliminary review. Plus, Governor Gavin Newsom, his office writing, quote, "Anyone caught engaging in this activity should be investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law."
And I think that's why Newsom is putting out the statement he's putting out. I think because he knows he's going to have to do something on this.
Now, this investigation comes as the state of California is already being looked into by the Trump administration surrounding alleged hospice and home health care fraud. Independent journalist Nick Shirley also recently releasing a video claiming to have found over $170 million in state.
Whatever. Fuck you. Don't care.
Right about 20 minutes now past the hour, President Trump sounding optimistic about talks with Iran, saying that negotiators have made progress on at least one major point.
It all starts with they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Just, I said yesterday, they said, what are the top 10? I said, well, number 1, 2, and 3 is they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And we're talking about that. And I don't want to say in advance, but they've agreed they will never have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that.
That from Tuesday. Now on Wednesday morning, Peter Doocy picks it up. North Lawn, White House. Peter, nice to see you. Good morning.
Bill, good morning. And that is a big step closer to the end of Epic Fury if Epic Fury was started to stop Iran from getting a nuke. Now officials here are floating a 15-point peace plan to end the war once and for all.
As they land troops on the ground.
It's a very big present worth a tremendous
they
amount
got us
of
a
money.
present.
And I'm not going to tell you what that present is.
A big present, and we're landing troops. No one knows about it. So weird because, we know the troops are going. It's like, no, just pretend like we're not about to just land troops on the ground somewhere. Stupid.
But it was a very significant
significant
prize. It wasn't nuclear related. It was oil and gas related.
It wasn't nuclear related, he says.
What it showed me is that we're dealing with the right people.
Part of the problem is that part of the group that created all these problems in Iran, Iran's Revolutionary Guard, has a spokesman saying about these negotiations, have your internal conflicts reached the point where you are negotiating with yourselves? Our first and last word has been the same from day one, and it will stay that way.
Dude, what did he just call him?
Someone like us will never come to terms with someone like you. But President Trump is suggesting that the old guard is out of the mix.
We killed all their leadership. And then they
no,
met to
you
choose
didn't.
new leaders, and we killed all of
no,
them.
you didn't. It's decentralized leadership. What do you mean? Decentralized.
We have really regime change. This is a change.
This is really regime change. Yeah, you're right.
Because the leaders are all very different than the ones that we started off with.
That's right. They got leaders, but it still means we won because, you know how it is. Hey, what are you doing?
President Trump is still really frustrated by a lack of help with the war effort from NATO allies. But he says with this war, America's allies in the Gulf have been pretty good.
Now we need to get rid of him.
Thank you, Peter Doocy, kicking off the day there at the White House.
This douchebag guy, we got to get him off.
He's a former U.S. Special
He's
Representative for Iran, so you know this well. Want to pull up here, apparently these are the U.S. and Iranian demands as we understand them right now. Among other things, the United States, in addition to the no nuclear facilities, zero nuclear enrichment, missile constraints, guaranteed free and safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz,
is this bullshit?
and an end to
No
Iran's
one has
proxy
said this
support
was
in
happening.
the region.
The Iranians
There are several
have all
things that
said this
Iran
is
is demanding, like compensation
bullshit.
for the war and a new payment system for the Strait of Hormuz. But also,
Who the
you
fuck
just
is
heard
he
Peter
talking
Doocy
to?
say that at least state media is telling the world that Iran is not having any of these discussions.
Right to jail.
Based on
Right
your
away.
experience,
No
where do
one
you think it actually stands?
is admitting to this discussion except
Well,
Trump.
Dana, where I think it stands, we're at a fascinating moment that has eluded so many American presidents. And President Trump seems to have Iran, where every president has wanted to have Iran, which is under pressure and coming to us for a deal.
What
And historically, if you look at either
actual
President
bullshit
Obama
this
or
is.
President
This
Biden,
is
it was the
exactly
reverse.
what they're doing. I see.
We were under pressure because of Iranian nuclear blackmail, and then we would give into the pressure, and then we would chase Iran all over Europe, trying to
is
get some sort of
lying.
deal, which ended up being the
He's a
Iran nuclear
liar.
deal, which
Brian Hook,
President Trump was right
you're
to
a liar.
leave. Now we have this dynamic where the Iranian regime is certainly feeling the heat, and they're looking.
Okay, so prove to me that they're feeling the heat, sir, because when you used to be the former special rapporteur for Iran, and you knew Iran, the people that you knew are all dead now. So how do you know who's in charge now? Because you all say no one's in charge, although we know otherwise. Obviously, people are in charge. So shit's getting done. Missiles are getting launched strategically. Hello? And you're telling me there's no leadership. This is just leftover guys. They're like, yeah, we know what to do. Okay, then if there is a script for after leadership is dead, that's still leadership in effect. That means they have leadership. What do you fucking mean? One of those motherfuckers is saying, yeah, let's do it. I'm in charge. So saying that Iran doesn't have fucking leadership and that they're on the back foot. Are you joking, sir?
For some sort of off-ramp. And so this is a really important moment. It's a sign of possible progress.
I'm going to put up on the board for everyone to see the leaders who have been killed, but there's also some that the president might be able to work with and talk to. I don't know if you know this Parliament Speaker, Galibaf, if I'm saying that correctly.
They killed all those people?
Do you think the United States or anyone of our allies in the
Imagine if they put up a video wall of all of our dead Marines that they had killed. God damn, they've been patient. I'm not going to lie. There's some fucked up shit, bro. This really is.
Gulf who want us to keep making sure that we get at least the demands that President Trump is
IDF.
asking for in regards to nuclear weapons. Can that
It's
guy
IDF
be dealt
list?
with, the Parliament Speaker?
I'm sorry. That list is fucking bullshit then.
I think this is an encouraging sign that the speaker is now coming forward. It seems to be that he's the person potentially on the other side of the table. And this is a good development because when you're dealing with the Iranian regime, it's not a normal country. And if you're sitting across from the foreign minister, that's often theater and smokescreen. But this speaker of the Iranian parliament is a former IRGC leader.
A smokescreen.
And he's real. He's an important guy in the system. And so when I think about this, you had Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner doing talks with the Iranians in Oman and in Geneva. I think those talks were productive. But ultimately, Iran could not get out of its own way, and they over-negotiated with them, and they didn't take our demands seriously.
Fucking
But now
asshole.
I think we're at a moment after now almost a month of war, where we may have the right people potentially at the table, and they're looking at this list, and Dana, you showed it on screen earlier. That's the right set of demands around the nuclear weapons, the missiles, and the proxies. Those have to be resolved once and for all.
Brian, new sound from former Secretary Tony Blinken has just come in. I understand this is from Harvard last night. I have not heard it yet. Apparently expressing some regret about actions that they did or did not take. Let's listen to it together and get your reaction on the other side. Here's the former Secretary of State under President Biden.
You kept referring to an agreement that was longer and stronger.
Longer agreement.
And you never got there.
Yep.
Given what's going on in the world, is that a regret today?
Yeah, it is. I wish we had gotten there. We worked very hard on getting that longer and stronger agreement. And I think at various points, we were really leaning into it. The Iranians were leaning back. At other points, they were leaning in.
Hello.
And we had our own constraints.
That means nothing.
Too, that sometimes
why don't you tell us some substance?
You have midterm elections.
God.
It shouldn't
it's like
be,
we
but
were
it
leaning
is
in,
too
and
often
he was leaning in, and then we kissed, and
now,
then
Brian,
we
you and I
kissing,
and our audience
we were having
hearing
sex.
those comments
like,
from Secretary Blinken for the first time. Do you have an immediate reaction to that?
Well, the problem with
what's the problem, sir?
That whole line of diplomacy that he pursued is he had no leverage.
What? He's lying. God, he's a good liar.
And the Iranian regime did not fear President Biden. They just simply didn't take him seriously. And so his negotiators didn't really have much power. It's just the reverse now. President Trump's negotiators have leverage, and they have power, and there is, the negotiating table is not balanced.
Are you
it's
kidding
imbalanced
me?
in favor of the United States.
I hate Biden.
And that was something that completely eluded the Biden administration, and they were always chasing the Iranians for a deal. They were trying so desperately to get back into the Iran nuclear deal. And so now I think the United States is in a much better position, and the president has used pressure and diplomacy very well.
Brian Hook joining us from Miami today. Thank you so much.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox.
So Jesse Ventura went on Piers Morgan's show, and man, he did not hold back. He is fucking fed up with Donald Trump. He's a Minnesota guy. He was governor of Minnesota. He governed as an independent, actually. Ran one as an independent. Very, very rare. He was able to pull that off. He endorsed Tim Walz, and Tim Walz, of course, delivered free school breakfast and lunch for kids, legalized weed, like a whole bunch of stuff. So he's very politically involved, specifically in Minnesota. And as soon as the ICE Gestapo thugs showed up in Minnesota and started shooting people in the face, started breaking up families, started arresting innocent people, this guy awoke from his slumber and was ready to crack some MAGA skulls. Yeah. Okay, so he goes on Piers Morgan's show here. He's going to talk about what ICE did to Minnesota. He's also going to talk about his thoughts on the Iran war and Trump. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is glorious. Let's take a look.
You said the ICE agents came to your school.
Yeah, the ICE agents came to the school where I went to high school, chasing some guy down just like the Gestapo. And I heard people were offended calling them that. Really? I can tell you right now, if my parents would have been alive and they would have seen what happened in Minneapolis, they would have called it the Gestapo too. So they come to my school, they use tear gas and pepper spray at the school. Now here's a question I have, Piers. My Uncle Emo fought in World War I, and he was gassed. He came home, but his life was ruined. He could never do anything. What did they do? They outlawed it. Gas using chemical weapons became a war crime. Why is it that you can't use them on your enemy, but you're allowed to use them on your own people? That has always been, where is the media on this? Using chemical weapons against our own people, which is in essence a war crime.
Well, I think I wouldn't describe the gas used by ICE agents as chemical weapons. I mean, that infers weapons of mass destruction.
Tear gas. They're spraying people from 6 inches away right in their face. I can't use that in war. I wasn't allowed to carry tear gas or any type of chemical weapon in war. It's banned from war. It's considered a war crime. You can't use it against your enemy, but you can use it against your own people.
Yeah,
doesn't something ring wrong there for you, Piers?
Well, a lot rang wrong about what was going on in Minnesota, and I'm very glad that it has been resolved, at least for now. And I think
it hasn't been resolved.
Well, no, not completely. But
nothing's been resolved.
No, I understand.
We have 2 dead people here. Yeah, 2 people were killed by the Gestapo here.
Yeah, I understand. And those investigations are ongoing, but at least the ICE activity that was going on and the way it was being conducted.
There are no investigations. There are no investigations. What is he talking about?
Being removed from Minnesota, which is a good thing. And I thought what happened was appalling. And I said so at the time. Let me ask you about
I said so
Iran
at the time.
And your view of this war.
I'm starting to sound like Trump.
Well, here's how I feel about it. There's a simple thing as a leader. And you know this, having been in the military. Trump wouldn't know it because he's a draft-dodging coward. But anyway, it's this.
Spurs. I had
a war is justified if you're willing to send your kids.
I could have been in
because how can you send somebody else's kids to a war if you won't send your own? So I'm calling right now for Barron Trump Donald Trump's on, after all, he's had 3 wives, he's had kids by each wife, and nobody's ever served in the military. To my knowledge, a Trump in the last 100 years has never done military service. Well, Barron, you can change that. Enlist in the United States military right now. Do something your father didn't have the courage to do. Do something your father didn't have the patriotism to do.
Yeah,
I want to see a Trump in the military. Everybody in my family.
Look at how uncomfortable Piers is.
So I think I can say that with all due confidence. Come on, Trumps. Don't just reap the benefits of this free world. Somebody put on the uniform, and that's you, Barron. And I heard the excuse that Barron might be too tall. David Robinson served on active duty. He was 7 feet tall before he ever went to the San Antonio Spurs basketball team. David Robinson went to the United States Navy Military Academy. He's one of my officers, not directly, but he would have been.
Okay, look, it's...
Damn.
There's something about Jesse Ventura, the way he speaks. There's
Jesse
like something so definitive about the way he talks.
Crazy.
Like when he says something, he's saying something. You gotta listen. We've talked about this 1,000 times on the show, but there's some people who, when they talk, your attention just immediately starts to fucking...
True.
Now, look, maybe that's just me. I probably do have a little splash of the ADHD in me, right?
Yeah.
But like...
A little?
There's some people, when they start talking, my attention just like...
A little, sir, you say. Just
Squirrel,
a little.
Bird. But then there's other people, when they talk, they're just glued
a lot
to them.
more than a little.
Say more. Like, I want to listen more. That's Jesse Ventura to the max, y'all.
Because
he says some
Trump
shit.
should serve. That's a perfectly reasonable argument to make. A lot of people feel that way. But it doesn't change what's going on in Iran. What is your view of this war? Do you think it's a legitimate war?
Legitimate
Many people
fucking
think that
war.
the
What?
Iranian regime has been...
How dare you ask
the
Jesse
instrument
the
of
body
terror through the
Ventura
Middle East
that
for
question, sir?
Of course they
years.
have been. Of course they have been, Piers.
How
but
dare
wait a
you
minute.
ask him that question?
Trump then calls you guys NATO cowards. Wait a minute. NATO is set up to protect. That means that if a NATO country is attacked, they will all join together to repel it. It doesn't go in reverse.
Defense.
It doesn't mean if one of the NATO countries starts a war that all the others have to join in. That ain't part of the deal. The deal is protection, not aggression.
Yeah.
And we started this war, and then he's calling you guys a bunch of cowards because you won't come in and help him. Well, why didn't he talk to you beforehand? And second of all, that isn't what the mission is. The mission is to protect the countries if they're attacked, not to go on the offense and do the attacking.
Okay, but do you think America was justified in joining Israel in the attack on Iran?
No.
No.
Absolutely not. Because we started the war. I'm not for starting any war.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jesse Ventura. Leave it up to Jesse Ventura to come out there and drop the truth bomb like that.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was on a jury. It was a criminal jury. And it was like a stabbing case. There were these two guys who got stabbed. And, you know, the one who stabbed him was the one who was on trial. And the whole time I'm sitting there and all I care about is, like, was it genuine self-defense or not? So in other words, who started the shit? Well, come to find out, it was the two guys who got stabbed. They tried to jump the guy, and the guy in self-defense and stabbed the guys. Now, they were fine. They had, like, some scarring, but they were fine. But I'm like,
well, fuck.
Why would I put this guy in prison for, like, a decade or more? Because he was jumped and he defended himself.
Just because he had a knife.
So in my mind, and this is how it works with these wars, too. Who was the aggressor? Who did the illegal and offensive attack?
Good point, Kyle.
Who did the first wrong thing here? And thankfully, Jesse Ventura thinks about it the same way. And it drives me crazy when people don't look at it like that.
I know, man.
Those same rules that you expect in your interpersonal life are the same rules you should expect from countries.
Exactly.
Right? Where
but
Iran was no threat to us. They were no threat to Israel. They weren't making any threats. There was no imminent attack. They don't even have a fucking nuke. And we attack them, and then we have the nerve to pretend like we're the good guys?
Yeah.
No, we are the baddie in that scenario. I told you guys, you go back to World War II, everybody goes, oh yeah, I get it. Like, of course, the Nazis, like the epitome of evil. Easy to get people to sign up for that shit.
Yeah.
Right? You look at even the war in Afghanistan. We were just attacked on 9/11. You know, the Taliban was protecting Al-Qaeda who attacked us. That had like a 92% support rate when that war started. People were signing up in droves for the military. Even Iraq, they lied to us and said Saddam had something to do with 9/11. He didn't, but they brainwashed the country and convinced a lot of people he did. That had a 72% favorability rating, and people were signing up in droves for that. With Iran, everybody knows this is bullshit. Everybody knows we started
because
it.
they didn't even bother to manufacture consent,
Everybody knows, or at least they should. If they watch this show, they do. Iran agreed to the strictest restrictions on their nuclear program. Stockpile of zero enriched uranium. And a couple hours later, Israel and the U.S., the axis of Epstein, attacked them. Okay? You can't even make a theoretical argument to sell this war to people. They're not stupid. Everybody's going around, looking around going, I'm not going to fucking die for Israel. Why would I go fight in this shit? I just saw the other day, they raised the draft age to 42 years old. They're going to try to get my 38-year-old ass to go fight this war? Go fuck yourself. Suck my nuts from the back. Yeah. Not a chance. I'll be out this bitch to the Bahamas, to Puerto Rico. I'll be laughing at you motherfuckers as I do it, and I'll be saying, are you kidding me? There's more of an argument. There's more of a
nuts from
case
the back
to
must be a
argue in favor of the IRGC than this fucking disgusting Epstein-infested government. Are you out of your damn minds? So, like, get the fuck out of here, man. Ain't no way. And I love the way he talks about this in simple terms. That's how you got to talk about it.
We fired the first shot.
Yes.
Being
plain and simple.
Jesse Ventura.
You want to put it in Rambo terms? We drew first blood.
Many would argue, of those who support the war, that Iran had drawn a lot of blood through this regime for a very long time.
Fuck off. And what do? They say, they planted a lot of the roadside bombs in Iraq. Well, first of all, you're not talking about Iran. You're talking about the Shia militias that are allies of Iran.
Right.
Second of all, the U.S. invaded Iraq, and, like, that was their attempt of saying, get the fuck out of our country. And I'm supposed to put that on the same moral level as, like, Osama bin Laden?
Oh, yeah.
No chance. No chance.
Of course. They had supported and propped up. Well, hang on, Jesse. They had
hang
armed
on, Jesse.
like
Let me speak,
and,
bitch.
The Houthis
Let
and
me
Hezbollah
speak.
for
That's
decades.
right. You got to let me speak. Shut up, Jesse.
So, in other words, we have to fight them because they're arming the proxies who are standing up to Israel's aggression. That's the argument. That's the best argument you got. That's the best argument. Oh, my God, bro.
Drawing enormous amounts of blood, and that actually the reason America and Israel had to deal with them now was that they were imminently going to get a nuclear weapon and may well use it. What do you say to that?
Total hogwash. The Obama deal was working perfectly. There was a fatwa against nuclear weapons, and Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu murdered the guy who issued the fatwa against nuclear weapons. Great job, guys. Well done.
Well, here's what I say. Let's get the real history in. You know, I listen to people like Congressman Lawler in New York. They all love to go back to 1979, the day the Ayatollahs took over. They conveniently don't go back to when I was alive. I'm a little older than them. Let's go back to 1953, shall we? When Iran had a Democratic elected president, the United States didn't like him. We pulled a coup d'etat, and what did we do? We stuck the authoritarian dictator, the Shah, in power. That's when the I Hate America started, was way back in the 50s when we interfered in their democratic elections.
He's cooking them. He's cooking them.
But how convenient we are that we forget that. Then in 1979, what took place? The Ayatollahs took over, who were probably worse than the Shah. But let's remember, the hatred of America was started by America. It was not started by the Iranians. We interfered in their government way back in the 50s and overturned their democratic elected president. And then the dictatorship started with the Shah and now went to the Ayatollahs. And here we are today. But I'd like for Congressman Lawler to at least try to go back in history from before he was born to see what could have occurred and that the United States was the person that caused the hatred between the two countries.
Why is it so hard for people to make that argument?
I don't get it.
I genuinely don't get it. I've heard Bernie Sanders make that argument. I think I've heard AOC make that argument. I'm now hearing Jesse Ventura make that argument. But the entire Democratic caucus should be screaming this from the rooftops, right?
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Hey, maybe they hate us because we
fucked
took the CIA and illegally overthrew their democratically elected government so us and Britain could get cheap oil. Like, that's what it comes down to. In the same way that we abducted Maduro and Trump is now putting...
And all those videos you see of Iran before, quote unquote, the mullahs took over or whatever, is actual shots from when they were in 53, when they were a democratic society, before we sent in the Shah. You see what I'm saying? So they're like, oh yeah, this is when they were free. They used to have a democratic society before we took it over. You see how fucking hypocritical that shit is? It's so disgusting, actually. Jesse must be jumping out of his fucking skin, trying not to say some swear words and like, God.
Hundreds of millions of dollars in Venezuelan oil money in a private account that only he controls. He's now trying to do the same thing to Iran. Okay? We know why they hate us. It's not from some irrational, like, Islamic-based theology.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no, it's got nothing to do with that. And people are fucking lying if they're trying to sell you the idea that it does.
You know, Jesse, I know you're very scathing of Trump now. There was a time when you were on more friendly terms. Here's a clip from you both at WrestleMania 20.
You know what? I think that we may need a wrestler in the White House in 2008.
When you look at that, Jesse, I mean, that was 12, 13 years ago, I think.
Trying to own him.
Trump has also been made a WWE Hall of Famer, which I know has angered you.
Yep.
How do you feel now looking back at that clip?
I feel that simply I was doing my job. I was doing what I was asked to do at the WWE. Trump being a Hall of Famer is a tragedy.
Oh.
This guy has never been in the ring. I got a good friend, Ken Patera, Olympian, first man to overhead press 500 pounds, 25 years in the wrestling business. Kenny Patera is not in the Hall of Fame. Donald Trump does not belong in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. He never earned it.
Yeah, they're literally all like Republican sickos.
It's disgusting.
Right? Like Vince McMahon is a total Republican sicko. So,
yeah.
They dole out favors like this in the same way they have financial corruption and deals, and he's pardoning fraudsters and all that shit.
He used to be a wrestler,
it's the same
so
thing.
he knows all about this
It's the same
shit.
thing. It's like fucking nepotism and the buddy system. Everybody knows this.
You know what I had to do to get
Jesse
in the
the
Pro
Body
Wrestling Hall of
Ventura.
Fame? At one point in my career, I wrestled 63 consecutive nights in a row. That's how
Yes,
you get in
he
the Hall of
did.
Fame. When I was referring to putting a wrestler in the
He was
White House,
fucking
I was
insane,
talking
dude,
about me, not him.
He was fucking insane.
Really? That was a bit ambiguous.
Let's
so good. He's just so good at this.
Yeah, absolutely. I was the former governor of Minnesota. I'm the only real former wrestler. I don't include him. He's only in the Hall of Fame because he stopped an investigation against Vince McMahon.
Oh, snap, son. Oh, snap. It is true. We saw those articles. There's all sorts of articles with all sorts of allegations made against Vince McMahon where you got these young women coming out being like, he was texting me some nasty ass shit. They were trying to run the train on me and whatnot. They were and I don't know if y'all have seen Vince McMahon lately, but his face is struggling, dog. I mean, he's either going to the worst plastic surgeon on planet Earth, or like he's
I've always hated
mangling
him.
himself with
Even
constant
back
drug
in the-
use, but
in
he
the-
ain't
in
looking
the,
too hot.
Sexual
wrestling
stuff.
days, I hated him.
Do you intend to run again?
I like how Pierce just glossed right over that. Right, yes, very good. Vince McMahon, sexual stuff. Next.
Yes, nice.
So governor, and therefore maybe president?
I don't necessarily intend to run again, but I'm working on something that could send me straight to Washington and go face to face with this guy.
Really? What, you would run for
Plans
president?
may be in the works.
I mean, he can't run for president again, so what would that involve?
Well, you'll have to find out. Wait and see. I'm not going to spill it here.
Oh,
Let's
shit.
go.
Jesse, what are you doing, Jesse? What are you doing, Jesse?
Jesse.
I genuinely don't know. I don't think he
Dude.
wants to run for president. But, man, this guy's got more talent in his fucking fingernail
Left
than
nutsack
most
than-
politicians
yeah.
have in their whole bodies.
True.
I mean, he is just... He's a rock
looking
star.
old,
So
too,
anyway,
unfortunately.
that was fucking awesome.
He's looking old.
He going at Trump aggressively and
Money time.
Man, just saying it like it is. This is some shit you don't see very much from many politicians these days, where everything is fucking convoluted, or it's some message that some staffer told them to give. He's just going out there and just saying this shit.
Yeah.
And so that's why he's a legend.
Hey, y'all, do
There's
me a
no
favor
firewall.
and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm.
All right, welcome to
Click
the show,
bell as
y'all.
well
Hope
for
everybody out there
notifications
is
when
having a
videos
great
drop.
day today.
And watch-
It is, what day is it? It is March 25th. Is it Wednesday? It's a Wednesday. I think it's a Wednesday. We got it. A lot of stuff to get to today. In just a second, ground troops have officially been deployed to the Middle East. I repeat, ground troops have been deployed to the Middle East.
There we go, guys.
Zero congressional input. Wildly illegal and unconstitutional, but nonetheless, here we are. We also have Iran brutally mocking Trump, which is something you should probably get used to because they're going to do it a lot. We also have U.S. allies are apparently absolutely furious with us over what's going on in Iran. There appears to be, and I mean this sincerely, zero off-ramp to this thing, which is a catastrophe. So we'll talk about that. We also have yet another MAGA bloodbath in special elections as Democrats win in Trump's deep red Mar-a-Lago district. That's right. Trump is now going to be represented at the state level by a Democrat. You love to see it. Later on, Newsom absolutely cuts himself to the Israel lobby after mildly criticizing them before, instantly backs down in a viral humiliation clip. So we'll dive into that as well. Later on, Jesse Ventura erupts on Trump's warmongering on Piers Morgan show, and Dave Smith smacks the smug off the PBD warmonger's face, the second stringer, Adam, whatever his last name is. So we'll talk about that and more. You guys know the drill, man. Everybody please do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon. That helps out massively. It costs you nothing at all. You, of course, are welcome to support the show on Patreon and sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. Those links are below. Remember, y'all, there's real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser. I've never done an ad read. I'm very proud of that fact.
So we've heard.
You guys have made that possible by giving $2 a month or $5 a month or signing up for Crystal Kyle and Friends. Every single bit helps this show to keep going. And of course, go sub to Corn's World, the YouTube channel, because we do live Kyle and Corn episodes every Monday night. This Monday, we thought like, oh, he might not be able to do it because he was traveling and
Kyle
TSA
and
was a
Corn.
nightmare, and you guys know the whole deal. But it turns out he did get there in time. We did do a Kyle and Corn episode, so definitely go check that out on the Corn's World YouTube channel. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and jump right in ski. So let me start with this, because whenever you're talking about the Trumps, understand there's always a scheme. There's always a game. There's always an ulterior motive.
True.
Okay? And sometimes the ulterior motive becomes crystal clear with a little bit of reporting.
True.
So Unusual Whale says the following, breaking. Just 5 minutes before Trump's announcement to halt the attacks on Iran, massive trades reportedly hit the market. In one move,
wow,
$1.5 billion in S&P 500 futures was bought, while $192 million in oil futures was sold. These orders were 4 to 6 times larger than anything else at the time. The trader seemingly made huge gains. Unusual.
Gains.
So I'll put this in layman's terms for you. This, without any doubt whatsoever, was either Trump himself, somebody being a surrogate for Trump, Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, Barron, Uday and Kusei Trump, Don and Eric Jr., or somebody within that inner circle who he's, slipping this information to.
Dude, he's slipping information everywhere. He's leaking it out of his ass as he walks around.
Little insider trading over here, little insider trading over there. And you have people profiting colossally off of life and death World War III decisions. When we say this is the most corrupt president in the history of the United States, guys, it is not even close. Are you kidding me? Hunter Biden is blushing over this. Nancy Pelosi is blushing over this. They were the punching bags for all of the right wing, where they say, "Oh, look at how corrupt these people are." Trump, on a random Tuesday before lunch, blows them bitches out the water. Not even close. So, of course, this needs to be investigated. But as we'll get to a little bit later, they have made sure that will not happen. Crime is legal as long as you're part of the Epstein class. And by the way, this is why we call them the Epstein class. Because the top 1%, the elites, can get away with fucking anything. They can get away with anything. We have Donald Trump assassinating the Grand Ayatollah and kidnapping Maduro before we have one person on the Epstein list being arrested. One. Stop and think about that. That shit is crazy. So the corruption is completely and utterly out of control. We've never seen anything like this before. New Iran ground war coming. So according to Fox News, Major General Brandon Tegmeyer, commander of the 82nd Airborne Division, is deploying immediately with his entire headquarters staff to the Middle East. Pentagon is actively planning major ground operations against Iran. Boots on the ground invasion prep is underway after Iran's missile barrages on Israel and threats to choke the world's oil supply. American paratroopers are headed in. Okay, so we now have official reporting. It is indeed happening.
Oh shit,
As
it's
Trump,
the airborne.
And we'll get to this in a second too. Flip-flopping, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. We solved the war, the war's over. The war's not over, but Iran better give up. Iran better concede. Iran better open that Strait of Hormuz.
Not
He goes
gonna
back, forth, back,
concede,
forth, back, forth, back,
folks.
forth. Pay no attention to what he says. Look at what's actually being done on the ground, because that'll tell you way more than his lying ass ever could. And just like with Venezuela, he might say one thing, but, oh, would you look at that? He did a massive military buildup around Venezuela.
I refuse to concede.
And sent a bunch of massive warships to park right next to the coast. Well, that was a big sign that something was coming. Right now, by the same token, there was a massive buildup near Iran when this attack happened, when both attacks happened, the 12-day war and this recent attack. But now he's trying to head fake while they're doing a massive buildup of troops that will be boots on the ground. Now, I want to reiterate this for the 97th time here, but literally all of this is illegal. All of this is unconstitutional. It's a fucking disgrace that you don't have immediate impeachment, removal, and arrest over this stuff. I mean, they're not even trying to make an argument anymore. It's like that meme.
There's none argument.
They don't even bother to make an argument for war anymore. They just look at you like this. And it's that picture from that movie with that fat guy looking like with tears in his eyes. That's where we're at now. That's where we're at now.
None people
but
care.
Let me give you some more, because we also have some numbers here. A source familiar with the details told the Jerusalem Post that the deployment and arrival of U.S. forces are proceeding as planned. So currently planned is 2,500 Marines, approximately 2,000 sailors, 3 amphibious ships, and 3,000 paratroopers.
That's not enough.
So it's happening, y'all. It is happening, and seemingly nobody is talking about it. Somehow this is flying underneath the radar, even though this is colossal
They're going to paratroop
now,
in.
You want to hear something
They're
incredibly
gonna die.
pathetic? Listen to this. Clash Report says, Trump is getting a daily 2-minute highlight reel of successful U.S. strikes in Iran. Basically, explosions and wins, raising concerns that he may not be getting the full picture of the war, setbacks included.
What the actual
So in the same way we learned that he doesn't do daily briefings unless it's in font like 100.
We're winning. All I see is W's.
That's all he cares about is himself, right? He wants to hear good things about himself written by other people.
Wow.
That's all he cares about. In the same way the briefings are like that, now they're saying, oh, we don't even really give him a real briefing on the war. We just splice together a highlight reel,
give him
Twitter,
a highlight
of shit
reel.
blowing up.
We give
and
him
play it for
dailies.
him, and then he goes,
They're called
"Wonderful. Looks
dailies,
like everything's going
Kyle.
great. Looks like we're absolutely destroying them. Isn't that phenomenal?" So this is.
They're called dailies for
I know
a reason,
I've said
Kyle,
a number of times now.
they get
Baboon
them daily.
government.
Don't you
This is
know
why.
this?
This is the baboon regime.
What a loser.
Or regime run by 12-year-old boys. Because these are not serious people. This is not a serious person doing a serious thing. This is a child. This is how you treat a child. Now, little Timmy, you want to see the things go boom, boom? You want to see them blow up? Yeah, Mom. Okay, little Timmy, here's the highlight reel. And it's got to be 2 minutes, because God forbid it's fucking 3 minutes. All of a sudden, his attention is fucking, it's like squirrel. Like, that's where we are now with this guy. This is how far gone he is mentally. What a child. Insane child. All right. Bloomberg says U.S. allies have privately warned President Trump that his war was quickly becoming a disaster. Oh, you don't say.
Good Pete Hegseth didn't really want to do it.
Europeans going, hey, dog, come on, man. Like, you don't understand. This is a catastrophe. We have Asian countries already rationing gas. We have work from home orders in a bunch of countries.
Yeah.
We have the longest lines you've ever seen for gas in a bunch of these countries. It's starting there. It's going to get here, right? And he's just totally fucking oblivious. And you have the allies going, come on, man, we're buying oil right now from Russia, which is only going to help them in their war on Ukraine, which is only putting us at more risk because he's stealing territory in Europe. Like, hello, this is horrible. And what's Trump? Trump doesn't care. He doesn't care. He'll go out there and say the exact opposite confidently, because that's what he does. Now, on that point, Trump did a little press event in the Oval Office, and it was just as disastrous as you thought. What you're going to notice here is, again, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. He keeps contradicting himself casually as if it's nothing, and fucking nobody calls him out on that, okay? So here's one example right here.
Roaming
that's
free
not
in
gone, or
Iran.
can you
Not
name
true?
one thing that's doing well? If you read the papers, you think we're tied. You think we're in a tough battle. We are roaming free over Tehran, the city, Tehran, as opposed to Iran.
Oh my God, bro. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. The global economy is barbecue chicken right now. Do you not see gas is already $4 a gallon in the U.S.? How do you not see this stuff? Do you not see the death toll of American soldiers? The ones being killed, the ones being injured.
$6.
Do you not see that you've had to retreat from a number of places because the Iranians have been much better at this war than anybody predicted? Do you not realize that you can't stop their fucking ballistic missiles? Tel Aviv is getting absolutely pounded. Actually, it's going great. It's not a stalemate. It's not a tie.
We're roaming free. We can do whatever we want. And as you know, today we were going to have the privilege of shooting down a very big electric generation plant, one of the biggest in the world.
We're going to have the privilege of shooting down an electric generation plant, one of the biggest in the world. He is bragging about war crimes yet again.
Yeah, you
He's
can't do
bragging. This is like he went out there and said, it was really phenomenal the way we attacked that elementary school with 7 to 12-year-old girls. That was really
great.
incredible, wasn't it? That was really something. What
Killed
he's saying
a lot
is,
of kids.
isn't it going to be amazing when we take away all
us.
power from thousands and thousands of civilians? Isn't that going to be great? What is wrong with this man? This man is demented.
And one shot to the right location ends the plant, it collapses. And we held off based on the fact that we're negotiating.
Pew, pew. Jesus Christ. All right, I'm not done, though. We also have this one. So in this one, Trump says, The regime has already been changed. So you're going to notice it's, they better stop this war. They better open the Strait of Hormuz. They're acting up and we're not going to allow it. So it's like the war is still raging. And on the other hand, it's like, well, the regime has actually already changed. Many people say we already won the war, if you think about it. Bro, he did a press conference the other day where, I'm not kidding, and there was a tweet about this that went mega viral. It's like he contradicted himself like 8 times. Yep. It was like, we won the war, but they better open the Strait of Hormuz. They're being horrible. They're not playing fair. But also, we won the war, but also here's the other fucked up thing they're doing. I can't believe they're still doing this. Like, what the fuck?
Like adults to me.
No one listens to me anymore.
They'll always be your children. But I hate to say it, but
I don't think
we
they
killed
like
all their
me
leadership.
very much.
And then they met to choose new leaders, and we killed all of them. And now we have a new group, and we can easily do that, but let's see how they turn out. We have really regime change. This is a change in the regime.
I don't think they like me very
because the
much.
leaders are all very different than the ones that we started off with that created all those problems. So I think we can say, Jason, this is regime change.
Jesus Christ, man. Again, you replaced the IRGC with the IRGC. That's what you did.
Whoopsie.
If anything now, you replaced the guy, the Grand
did what
Ayatollah,
Asmongold
who
was
issued a
said would be
fatwa against
stupid.
nuclear weapons. The old guy that you killed, he was the most anti-nuclear weapon. Now he's replaced with his son, who is more of a religious extremist,
right?
more of a hardliner, hates the West more, and by the way, all of his family members just got murked by the U.S. and Israel, the axis of Epstein. So I wonder if he's going to be in a kind mood to negotiate. So, no, I mean, I can't with this guy, bro.
Deal. They're going to make a deal. They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but...
It was a big wooden horse. Somebody joked on Twitter, Trojan horse.
It was a very significant...
The Trojan horse.
Prize.
It was the
and
Russians.
they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give
The
it. So that
Russians
meant
tried to
one thing
take
to me, we're
over.
dealing with the right people.
It was terrible.
No, it wasn't nuclear related. It was oil and gas related, and it was a very nice thing they did. But what it showed me is that we're dealing with the right people.
What the fuck is he babbling about? So everybody was speculating, like, what the fuck is this? Right? What is this?
Oh, he's like,
and
prove it
we
to
got our
me.
answer. So Tehran responded and said, oh yeah, we got a gift for you. Look at this from Dropsite News. Just in, Tehran mocks Trump's gift claim with missile strike video. So they go, oh yeah, you want a gift? Here, I got a gift for you, bitch. Watch this.
Here's your gift.
Missiles attacking U.S. positions and Israel. So here's your gift, bitch. This is what they're saying. There's no gift. There's no gift. He's fucking making it up. It's all fucking made up. Okay? Also in the same press conference, Trump decides to try to throw Pete Hegseth under the bus. Listen to this.
I don't want to say this, but I have to. I said, Pete and General Raisin Kane, I think this thing's going to be settled very soon. Here they go. Oh, that's too bad.
In other words, the Secretary of War Crimes, Pete Kegsbreath, according to Trump,
That's too bad, he says.
oh, yeah, the biggest warmonger among us is Pete. Pete wants this war to go on forever. He thinks it's awesome. Oh, my God, bro. Oh, my God. From the New York Times, the U.S. has sent Iran a 15-point plan to end the war in the Middle East, according to 2 officials briefed on the diplomacy. It was unclear how widely the plan, delivered by way of Pakistan, had been shared among Iranian officials, and whether Iran was likely to accept it as a basis for negotiations. By the way, they already reacted, and they went, fuck off. We have no interest whatsoever. Why? Gee, I wonder why. Well, the answer is very simple. Every time the U.S. and Israel engage in negotiations,
they said fuck off.
It's nothing but a ruse to regroup and reload and then attack again illegally and offensively. Okay? This is how the U.S. killed Qasem Soleimani. Lured him with fake negotiations, then murdered him. This is what happened during the 12-day war. During negotiations, we started bombing the shit out of them. This is what Trump does on every single front. He made an economic deal with Canada, then he gets back in office and rips up his own economic deal. Pulls out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Pulls out of the Iran nuclear agreement. You can't take our word seriously in any way, shape, or form. We are liars. And they're aware of that. You cannot trust the Americans. You cannot trust the Israelis. So Trump's saying, oh yeah, here's a 15-point peace plan. They go, I'm going to use that for fucking toilet paper. It's useless.
Exactly.
It's worthless.
Right?
Because like we could agree to that shit, and then you motherfuckers keep bombing
the whole time.
So why would we stop bombing now? There's no reason for us to do it. We do not trust you. We don't trust you. We genuinely are like psychotic meth heads who are on a fucking murder spree, a crime spree, and then we go, hey, would you like to sit down and make some sort of an agreement with us? No, why would anybody want to make an agreement with us? We are liars. You can't trust us at all. So the Supreme Leader's representative to the Supreme National Security Council
Now, why you gotta
Secretariat, so a
drag
guy
a
at the
meth
top
head
level
under
of
the
the
bus, but
Iranian
okay,
government said,
Kyle.
the one who once spoke of regime change and the fragmentation of Iran now hopes that someone in Iran will engage in dialogue with him. Though this, too, is merely an attempt at deception. So they're on to you. They know you don't actually want peace.
Yep.
They know you just want to buy more time to get more like missile interceptors and get more weapons to Israel and, you know, to be able to attack Iran more. So none of this is going to work anymore. Guys, understand something. Iran right now has us by the balls. We have no fucking
I'm not the
idea
only one
how to
who
get the
said
Strait
this,
of Hormuz open. And
Thank
Trump
you,
is
Kyle.
flailing like a fish fresh out of water, flopping all over the place, going back, forth, back, forth, back, forth.
There's a moth in
They're just
here.
going to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed, set up a system where, oh, you want to travel through? Fine, but you got to pay us a tax. And oh, yeah, by the way, now we want you,
As they
trading
should.
in Chinese currency as opposed to
Yeah,
U.S.
give
currency.
us yuan.
So destroy the dollar as the world reserve currency casually,
dollar.
make themselves phenomenally wealthy, and also get themselves sanctions relief. Because as a direct result of this war, the U.S. was offering them sanctions relief. Every single incentive they have is to keep fucking fighting.
He's right.
So to say, again, that this
Trump
is a
has given
baboon
them no
regime
reason
is the
not to.
understatement of the century, if
He
I'm
has
being honest with
something
you.
up his sleeve.
All right, more. Here's Trump making one of the most embarrassing admissions I think I've ever seen about this war. Listen to this.
Unexpectedly, when this war broke out, unexpectedly, they started sending missiles to UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, and elsewhere. And nobody thought they were going to. Were you equally surprised by that, Pete?
Way more than we thought.
Pete, do you want to give about it?
Oh my God, bro. In other words, they're surprised about one of the things that every single fucking expert predicted, in the same way they were surprised that Iran shut the Strait of Hormuz. They didn't expect any of this. They did not expect any of it, ladies and gentlemen. And here he is admitting it. We couldn't believe they started attacking the Gulf Arab countries. Why couldn't you believe that? All of our fucking military bases are there, and we were attacking them from those bases. That's like place number one you would attack. So as Midas Touch says, if this was truly unexpected, then they made zero preparations for this war. And that's right. It was all fucking impulsive. It was all impulsive. It's all like cowboy bullshit is what it is. All right, then at the same time, of course, Trump had time to fearmonger about Democrats and talk about the election. As you all know, they're going to try like 17 different ways to rig this thing. Listen to what he says here.
The department that Mark Wayne takes over today is currently shut down by radical left Democrat thugs in Congress who have blocked all funding for DHS because they're trying to shield illegal alien criminals, gang members. They want to protect them.
By the way, they tried to fund DHS 10 separate times. 10 separate times. They were blocked by the Republicans because the Republicans are trying to force through the SAVE Act, right? And also, like, hyper-fund ICE again, and the Democrats are taking a stand on not funding ICE.
From being taken out of the country, drug dealers, murderers, they're protecting them all. I don't know how people can vote for these people. You know, I see the midterms are close. I don't know what close means, but
the midterms are not close, son. You're getting your cheeks blown out, all right? Are you kidding me? It's like double-digit lead in every poll for Democrats now. And this is go, well, I see the midterms are close. Funny enough, this is what counts as an admission from him, right? Like, he would normally say if it was actually close, he'd be like, Republicans are winning by double digits. It's incredible. It's the fact that Democrats are winning by double digits. The most you're ever going to get at him is, I guess it's kind of close. So, I mean, this is the cheater's mindset, right? This is how a cheater thinks. And so, man, he always tells on himself, bro. He always tells on himself.
The midterms are close. I don't know what close means, but I don't know how people can vote for them.
Close.
You take a look. Men, they want men to be able to play in women's sports. They want transgender for everybody.
I have literally never seen a clear example in my life of textbook scapegoating. I know I started an illegal war. I know Americans are dying. I know we're bombing elementary school girls. I know gas prices are skyrocketing. I know AI is taking your job.
worries.
I know we just stole your health care by kicking 18 million people off Medicaid. I know you can't afford to live anymore. I know everything sucks ass. But you know what? The other people, did you know trans people exist? Did you know trans people exist? Isn't that disgusting? It's disgusting. This is literally the trick that George W. Bush and Dick Cheney tried in 2004, I believe it was, when to get people to shut up about the Iraq War, they were like, can you believe gay people want to get married, bro? I think we should have like a constitutional amendment to ban that. Can you imagine Dave and Steve kissing each other, bro? Holding each other's hands, jacking each other up, bro? Disgusting. Vote for us. Like, they did classic
Literal.
scapegoat gays. This is classic scapegoat
It's
trans
literally
people.
what they ran on.
And, like, it's not going to
Now
work
they're doing
because
the
people are
trans thing.
materially suffering dinky right now. They're feeling it. And so it's just so desperate. He's so fucking desperate. And low down, or deep down, I should say, he knows. He knows that he's about to get absolutely draxed in these midterms if they're remotely free and fair. So this is kind of incredible. Ready for this? Evan Hill says, U.S.
draxed.
officials tell the Post they no longer believe it is possible to achieve the war's original goals of overthrowing the Iranian
No
regime
shit.
and putting its nuclear program permanently out of reach.
I could have told you that.
We started illegal and offensive war and we're nowhere near achieving even the basic bare minimum goals. Our bad. Ready for this? Midas Touch says, reopening the Strait of Hormuz has now emerged as the main objective of the war. An issue that was caused by the war. That shit was open just before you waged this illegal and offensive war.
Yeah.
And now that's the goal? Like, man, we really got to get that strait back open. I'm sorry, Iran literally ran circles around Trump. Watching this unfold was like watching prime Mike Tyson in the ring with a kindergartner. Now, if I had said that before the war,
good.
in your mind, you would have said prime Mike Tyson is the U.S., the kindergartner is Iran. Wrong. They outsmarted us every step of the way with this asymmetrical warfare. And we're run by a bunch of baboons here who can't even play checkers, never mind chess. And they just got obliterated. We're fighting war like it's fucking the Cold War years, like it's the fucking 1970s. We're like, look, we have really big ships. Like, oh, okay. Meanwhile, they're using $10,000, $20,000 Shahed drones and blowing up everything in sight and successfully getting away with it. We're using $1 million interceptors, blowing through them like nobody's business. They're creating these drones faster than they can use them, and they're hitting their targets. All right, more from Politico. The U.S. says its plan is to keep assassinating Iranian leaders until a Delcy Rodriguez-style figure emerges who will do what they want. The article says the main thing is a future leader gives the U.S. first dibs on oil rights. So at the end of the day, it comes down to the same basic
All
shit
about
in
the
all of these
oil.
conflicts. We need the Epstein class to make their money, son. That's what it is. Let us steal the oil wealth, for the love of God. Just like the 1953 coup that the CIA did against Mohammad Mossadegh, the democratically elected leader of Iran. That was about oil wealth. Here we have an admission, well, same thing. So Trump wants to be able to steal Iran's oil, sell it on the global marketplace, and put the hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in that private bank account that he has in Qatar, where he's already putting the money from the sale of the Venezuelan oil that he stole. So again, this is an international criminal syndicate. That's what this is. This is a mobocracy. This is not a democracy anymore. And Trump is like the gangster of all gangsters. All right, how about this one? Robert Pape says, Trump is giving Iran a $14 billion windfall by easing sanctions. It becomes clear by the day that Iran has major leverage so long as Iran controls Hormuz. This will grow. And every day the message keeps getting sent to Iran, hey, the fact that you're controlling Hormuz gives you all the leverage in the world, makes you more powerful. What you're doing is absolutely working. And the U.S., in their endless panic, unsanctioning Iranian oil already on the seas, is like letting them know, hey, you guys are doing the right thing. Keep going. They were trying to get sanctions relief for so fucking long, ever since Trump pulled out of the nuclear agreement, Obama's nuclear agreement, and the only way they could achieve it was fighting a war. 2 weeks into the war, the U.S. goes, Uncle, okay, yeah, okay, we'll pay you for your oil. Is that cool? All right, now how about this? Iran is preparing to take over the UAE with a ground invasion if the U.S. puts troops on the ground. Quote, if the United States makes a mistake, Iran's armed forces are ready to seize the coastline of the UAE and Bahrain and reshape the region. In other words, there's already unrest in these places because there's a sizable Shia population and there's the Sunni majority runs the area. Basically what Iran is saying here is, if you fuck with us too much, if you try to ground invade, we are going to reshape this map completely, and we're basically going to expand the Iranian borders. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make it so that we have our own ally in those areas where there's a Shia leader in those countries, and they're allies to us, and they're not enemies. They don't have, like, U.S. military bases there that they attack us from. So they're sending you the fair warning, hey, look, you ground invade, we're going to murk all them, and we're going to start taking the UAE and Bahrain, and there ain't shit you can do about it. And you know what? To this point, they've been able to back up every single fucking thing they've said, so I believe they can pull that shit off too. There's already unrest in those places. We've already seen it. All right, more. 7 Iraqi army soldiers were killed and 13 wounded after U.S. airstrike hit the clinic and engineering department at the Habaniya base in Anbar. The base, which is shared by the Iraqi army and PMF, was struck in 2 consecutive U.S. attacks on March 24th and 25th. Baghdad called the strikes a serious violation of Iraqi sovereignty, especially because a military medical facility was hit and has begun diplomatic and security consultations. Okay, listen to this. So Iraqi officials now endorsed a National Security Council decision that is granting the paramilitary groups, the Shia paramilitary groups, the right to respond, so attack the U.S., after a suspected U.S. strike killed 15 people in Anbar province. That strike we just talked about. Ready for this? The Americans negotiated a ceasefire to get the American soldiers out of their base, and as soon as the last contractor was out, they airstriked and killed the commander they negotiated with. This is how we act.
Wow.
This is what I've been warning you about. Hey, oh yeah, let's negotiate. Let's make a deal. Oh, you abided by that deal? Great, now I'm going to murder you. I'm going to do a terror attack. Like, that's what the U.S. did again. So, Donald Trump, who ironically said a number of times, the Iraq war was so stupid, the Iraq war was so dumb, it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Yep.
Now, all of a sudden, we're back at war with Iraq. We are back in a hot war with Iraq. And you're managing to unify the Shia paramilitaries with the Iraqi army.
Not good.
Behind the same goal of, like, we got to get these fucking Americans out of here. They're out of control, bro. They are totally out of control. This has become a world war so quickly. All right, we also have Secretary of War Crimes Pete Kegsbreath. He was also giving a speech in the White House. And, my goodness, listen to the little boy ass shit he says here.
As viciously as possible from moment one. And that's why we see ourselves as part of this negotiation as well. We negotiate with bombs.
Bro said we negotiate with bombs. I give up. I give up. All right, so Haaretz says this. A Palestinian miner who died in Israeli prison was likely starved, but they closed the case anyway. So, at the same time, we got World War III spiraling out of control. Israel, of course, is fighting on like 6 different fronts. And you get stories like this that come out every single day.
Yeah,
Judge rules that 17-year-old Walid Ahmad likely starved to death in Israeli military detention, but closes the case anyway. Israel never charged him with a crime and still holds his body. Here's how he died, as reported by his cellmate, 16-year-old American Mohammed Ibrahim. Ready? Listen to this. I'm warning you, this is hard to take. One of his cellmates, 17-year-old Walid Ahmad, whom he quickly grew close to, was visibly sicker and weaker than the others when Mohammed arrived. Skin and bones, Mohammed told me. He had severe diarrhea, couldn't keep food down, and shivered constantly. His skin was covered in scabies, which was ripping through the prison, leaving all the boys infested and scratching themselves raw.
Horrible, dude.
The boys worried about Walid, begging the guards to let him see a doctor. They refused. On March 22nd, 12 days after Mohammed arrived at the prison, Walid collapsed during their daily trip outside the cell, falling face first and splitting open the bridge of his nose. A pool of blood formed around him. The boys rushed to help and were pepper sprayed. 4 days later, the boys learned that Walid, who was never charged with a crime, was dead. Back home, Mohammed's family heard that a teenage boy had died in Megiddo and spent an entire unbearable day trying to determine whether it was him. Instead, they learned it was a boy from a neighboring town. An Israeli surgeon who observed Walid's autopsy reported that the 17-year-old showed signs of prolonged starvation, extreme weight loss, and muscle wasting, along with untreated colitis and scabies. A prison medical report also revealed that he had complained to the prison about inadequate food since at least December. His body has still not been returned to his family. And here he is right here. This is what the Israelis are doing, bro. This is what they're doing. And by the way, there's also a bill that's going through the Knesset right now where they're trying to give all of their prisoners, Palestinian prisoners, in reality they're hostages because there are no actual charges for most of these people that they lock up. They're trying to give them all the death penalty. So in other words, they're trying to make their prison camps into death camps. That's what they're doing right now. More. Israel's defense minister said the military will occupy southern Lebanon up to the Litani River, marking the first clear statement of intent to seize the territory. So again, if you had any doubts that, this wasn't defensive, well, here you go. They're saying we're going to steal half of Lebanon. Eventually, they'll steal all of Lebanon, but right now it's up to the Litani River. Steal half of Lebanon in the same way that they stole massive swaths of Syria, in the same way that they're, officially annexed Gaza, that they're doing pogroms in the West Bank to steal the West Bank as well. This is what it is. This is illegal. This is offensive. This is aggressive. This is an attempt to create a greater Israel and effectively bring about the Fourth Reich. That's what this is. And anybody denying it at this point is a liar. They are lying to you. All right, now, at the same time, you had this article that came out in The Telegraph, I believe, and they spoke to Christians in Lebanon as to how they feel about Hezbollah. And, of course, what they were expecting was, oh, my God, they're terrorists. Oh, my God, they hate us. Oh, my God, they attack us. We're thankful to Israel for going after Hezbollah. This is what they were expecting. Ready? Here's the reality. The Vatican did nothing for us, but Hezbollah spilled their blood to protect us. The Pope only has prayers. Quote, how can we as Christians in this area not be with Hezbollah? They protect our churches. They helped us fight ISIS. During COVID, they gave us free care in their hospitals. When there was no electricity, they gave us generators. They even put up a Christmas tree at Christmas. So they interviewed the Christians in Lebanon, and they were like, oh my God, Hezbollah are some of the only people that protect us. Israel's the problem. Now, you ready for what happened as a direct result of this? You ready for this? As a direct result of this, that article was released. There was massive backlash. They pulled it down. Look, the article was in the Telegraph. Now you get a 404. Sorry, page not found. They were flying a little too close to the sun by telling the truth, by talking to actual Lebanese Christians. Sorry, little too much truth got out there, and it went against the Israeli narrative too aggressively. Gotta delete that. And then finally, I wanted to give you this. Ready? So, breaking, SEC Enforcement Director Margaret Ryan, who resigned last week, reportedly fought with the agency bosses after calling for an investigation into Trump family's misconduct. So, you did have somebody within the SEC going, bro, I see a lot of shit that's going on with Trump and his inner circle where they're committing crime after crime, financial crime after financial crime. It's very clear they're doing insider trading. It's very clear this is corruption. And she tried to look into it, and they immediately stopped her. They immediately fucking stopped her. And so, whenever you have a good person trying to bring about justice, they fight back. Kenneth Vogel says, as SEC Enforcement Director Margaret Ryan pushed to aggressively pursue charges against Justin Sun, a major backer of Trump's World Liberty Financial and Elon Musk. Instead, the SEC settled with Sun and is in talks to settle with Musk. Ryan resigned last week. So, remember, this guy bought a whole bunch of Trump's cryptocurrency and was getting favoritism. He was under investigation. Trump dropped the investigation to protect him, and this guy bought a bunch of his cryptocurrency. The most obvious quid pro quo corrupt scheme I've ever seen. And then don't even get me started on Elon Musk. We know this guy is insanely criminal. I'm sure she's just looking at the financial crimes he's engaged in, but he also illegally cut pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels and USAID and like did all these horrible things. So we actually had like a cop on the beat going after the real criminals, these white-collar criminals, totally had it snuffed out. So this is a criminal gangster government. I've never seen anything this brazen in my life. And now you get the full picture of all of the horrific war crimes, the failure of their foreign policy, and now also this. Endless financial crimes that apparently there's zero consequences for whatsoever.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm.
Am I going back to the same spot, chat? Oh, shit. Is it in there? Need those. Don't need those. Don't need that. Don't need that. Oh, cool. That's what I needed. I'm gonna die if I go in there. red shield. I'm dead. Almost dead. One-shotted by that red shield, you guys. We got here. Should just extract probably here. Oh, I got it. Got room for loot. Gotta be loot up here. Oh shit. Just need a little more loot. Just a little more.
Minutes remain.
Plenty of green loot here, so. Still don't got enough. Where is it? Never know what you'll find in here, huh? Let's go. There it is. Another one, huh? No heals. I need something. Guess we're going with this.
Five minutes until forced recall.
Oh no. I'm dead. Fucked up. Got a little bit casual, I'm done. Oh, this guy's after me now. Fuck you. Yes! Yes! No, no, wait. No! I made it! No! I didn't make it. All right, chat, that's it for me tonight.